Ask that at this time we rise for an invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America and the Texas flags. And I should have checked, but are all the mics functioning and we're all good to go from a technical? Okay, wonderful. Let's pray. Commissioner?
Yes, ma'am. Let us pray. Dear Lord, as we bow your heads in gratitude for all that you have blessed us with, we ask you to give us the strength to do our duties today to the citizens of Nueces County and to always remember that we are here to honor you. We are so appreciative of all the blessings that you have given us. We ask that you continue to look over those who are affected by COVID, and we pray for those who have been lost. We pray for all of our citizens to stay healthy and safe. We thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. In your Son, Jesus' name, we ask these things and pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Timothy, would you lead us in our safety briefing this morning?
Good morning, ma'am, Judge, Commissioners, ma'am. We're meeting here today on the third floor of the Nueces County Courthouse, located at 901 Leopard Street. The restrooms are located on the right-hand side of the third floor atrium as you exit the courtroom past the Human Resources Office. Please note there's a fire extinguisher located at the rear of the courtroom. There are also 5 additional fire extinguishers located throughout the third floor atrium. In the event of a cardiac emergency, an AED is located on the right wall as you exit the courtroom next to the Human Resources Office. Participants responsible for dialing 911 in the event of emergency is Tyner. Participants CPR certified in attendance are Dale and myself. In the event there's an evacuation, our egress route will be down the atrium stairs, proceeding through the doors located at the Pond Street entrance of the courthouse and assemble across the street. Should there be a need to shelter in place, participants will remain in the courtroom. Depending upon the severity of the incidents, the courtroom's double doors will be secured and remain secured until given further instructions from the Nueces County Sheriff's Office or other law enforcement agencies. Our shared safety topics for today is, this is National Moral Awareness Month. Come Get Moral will be November 19th, 11 a.m. through 4 p.m. here at the Nueces County Courthouse. Ages 18 to 44 of ages, their donors are needed the most. So that concludes my safety brief.
Thank you. And I just want to add on to the get marrowed. So to get marrowed is so easy. It's literally like a Q-tip swab touching your cheek. And so I hope you'll join me on the, is it the 19th? Thursday the 19th. And
Yes,
to be able to see if you could be a match and save a life. For those of you that know people who have suffered from cancer, you'll know that often bone marrow can be the difference between life and death. And it's my understanding from visiting with, you might remember our friend Leticia Mondragon, who was the director of the Coastal Bend Blood Center for years and years. She's now the director of the Marrow Center. So she's very familiar with us, our courthouse, and while we always see our blood mobile, this is, I think, probably the first time we've had the marrow match here. So it's easy, it's fast, it's painless, and it could save a life. So hope you guys will listen to Timothy, and all those flyers are up and about throughout first, second, and third floors.
That's correct, ma'am.
Thank you, Timothy.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, appreciate your safety briefing to us this morning.
Judge, do you skip the seat? Right above.
Yes, it did. Thank you. I'll do it for the clerk. For the clerk, it is 9:10 a.m., and it's November 16th, 2020. We're on the third floor of Nueces County Courthouse, as Timothy said, and all commissioners are present, and so I do certify a quorum has been made. Thank you. And at this time, I'll look to see with Tyner if we have public comment in the room. I don't see anybody, but he's going to check. We've got some folks virtually. Hold on one second. Connie's got is actually, hold on, I stand corrected. We do have people here. Here it comes. Let me,
Connie's going to give a quick demonstration for the court.
oh, that's great. Is there anybody besides Connie?
Just me.
Just you. Would you like to go first, or is yours related?
I sure will.
Let's call Tyner Little for public comment.
I'd like to introduce again to the Commissioner's courtroom the fully, duly employed Executive Secretary in my office, Tara Corwin. And so we had 28 applicants. Teresa and I got together. I spent about a day and a half looking at everything and made the offer to Tara. So just like I work for you, she works for you as well.
Thank you. Tara, we'll sign you up as well. Go ahead,
sorry.
please.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed working with you guys for the past couple of months. It's been very interesting. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing where this goes. You guys have all been really great, so.
Welcome.
Thank
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you, Tyner. We'll call on Connie at this time. Connie Morgan's going to, I think, has a demonstration. Connie? Tell us what we're going to see.
Judge, Commissioners, I'm going to give you a brief walkthrough of the new Nueces Knows website for
Great.
all your information for COVID information.
And Connie, I'm just going to pester you for the mic. I just want to make sure, there we go.
It's on, I'm just not used to talking into it.
That's okay, but it's a lot louder now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I have put 2 links on the homepage for the county to get to Nueces Knows, so you should have no problems getting to it. There's a banner as well as a static link up at the top. Either one will get you to Nueces Knows. And it's a relatively simple but very informative site. And the information is going to be updated constantly. As we learn more, it will be updated. Right now, it's got links at the top taking you to various informational points. The flu shots, emphasizing that we get our flu shots and limit our need for overwhelming the healthcare system. The arrow down below will take you back up to the top. We've got a bunch of holiday tips for having a safe and happy holiday, planning an event day. A link to the COVID Community Clinic, and very good information here. For anybody who has questions about what it does and if you qualify for going. If you need to see any of this in Spanish, you click here and it'll convert the entire thing to Spanish.
Great.
And so no matter what you click on, it is now rendered in Spanish. I'm going to go back to English. And then, of course, we've got the link at the top that'll take you right back to the county's homepage so that you never lose track of county information. Any questions?
Well, during public comment, we're going to.
Oh, that's right.
We'll address it when we get our COVID briefing. How's that, Commissioners? Okay, thank you, Connie. Tyner, will you also take a look online to see, that concludes those that have signed up on my sheet for public comment, but how about online? Also, it looks like we were one person was in the waiting room. Did we allow the county attorney-elect to come in? Okay, good. She's not in the waiting room anymore. Great.
And she's the only one that may have public comment,
Okay.
and
Well, they can raise their hand, correct? Okay, we'll see. If
Raise their
anybody would
hand.
like to raise their hand, please let us know at this time. I can sign myself up, but since she's on, we'll just say welcome to the county attorney-elect and congratulate her. And glad that she's here virtually participating with us today. And we look forward, I know, as a court to working with her. Okay, I guess we will move on, Tyner. I don't see any. I always like to wait just a little bit, but I think that's good. So now we will move into Kathy, but I don't see her in the courtroom and I don't see her online. So let's do the minutes and give her just a moment. Commissioners, let's skip F till we see Miss Kathy. Art Blantner, our Deputy Emergency Manager. And let's move to accepting the minutes of October 21st, 2020 first. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Commissioner, and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. November 4th minutes, 2020.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, what about Deputy Coordinator for Emergency Management, Kathy? Is she? do you
I'm
see-
checking with her, but we do have Scott here to talk about, in accordance with the court's wishes, last court, I did include debris removal on this item.
Sure, I'll tell you what, we'll buy us a little time. Let me also give everybody an update. So Kathy will be here shortly, and I know that she's got a report. I'm gonna double check that she didn't email me and say, read the report while Scott is visiting with us. Scott, why don't we do F2, which is really all about our emergency response to the local disaster and the state disaster that we named Hurricane Hannah. And so just kind of tell us how it's going out there, what's going on, anything that you would like to share with us while we're waiting on Kathy.
Okay, good morning. Y'all can hear me, I'm sure. So, GLO finished up all their debris removal under their contract with the parking lot. The judge and I are still working through a couple of things with some remnants that were left from that. Evidently, the pre-positioned debris contractor with the GLO had a not-to-exceed amount that we were unaware of. And so it delayed us a little bit in getting that one section of beach. It's open now, but getting the one section of beach opened up that was adjacent to the old parking lot. There were some asphalt remnants and chunks of cement stabilized base and stuff that were left out there that we had to go and kind of create a pile for. And there are some chunks of asphalt that were pushed up into the face of the dune. Judge, I know you've seen it. We've talked about it. I brought it to everybody's attention. That's not something the county did. That's not something we would ever do. That's not something that'd be allowed to be done during the beach and dune program underneath the protocol. So I've started some conversations to answer an email I got from you. It was either Saturday or yesterday, Judge, with the GLO about how we're going to move forward with that.
Correct.
I've talked with Crowder. I've talked with Crowder's sub, who's here locally. And, you know, they did tell me that's what they were told to do to get it out of the way. Either way, we're going to have to take care of it somehow, some way. And so I need to circle back around with Natalie at the GLO and ask her, you know, where are we at on this? Can we expect any additional support or not? We've got one sifting bucket on one of our front end loaders, and it would take us a really long time to knock all that out, you know, at a very snail pace, because, you know, we've got it open to the public too right now to where they can transition across there. So everybody's happy they got use of that little section of beach. The road is still there that would go from the north end of the parking lot to the south end. That's a road that ran adjacent to where the parking lot was, and I intentionally kept that so people would have access to the restrooms. We've got one of the restrooms back online. We got to get a weatherhead replaced that the storm damaged on the south one, and it'll be back online. And the north one is ADA accessible. Working with Carol Pruitt, he allowed me to take the south one off, so we only had to make one of them ADA accessible. All the concrete panels were back in place on the pier. I know that there was some question about the safety of the structure, and I had reached out to Crowder Gulf on that aspect and asked them, okay, so get with Jacobs, find out, you know, if you can run your little piece of machine up there and put those concrete panels back in place. But considering they think that you don't need to go past the ramp, I'm going to need to see a deduct in your proposal that you gave us that we executed. Well, I guess the word deduct really fired them up, because they just went out there and did it. They put all the panels back in so they wouldn't have to give us a deduct. But that's okay. It's done. It's over with. And we've got some cyclone fencing, really large cyclone fencing up around the end of the pier ramp to ensure that it's safe so that nobody can get in there. Now, that's not to say that people aren't still gonna try to do something crazy in the middle of the night, but we got big signs that say warning, do not enter on it, and fencing up. And it's got a little gate there in case we need to let, authorized people in there. Once we got the pier up, we were able to start working with our concessionaires to get up in there and get the rest of their equipment out. And I think they're pretty much done with that. That way that equipment doesn't sit up there and just rust and stagnate. We don't have any power to that facility right now. We will not have any power until we figure out what we're going to do in the future. I had AEP pull the power pole because it was in bad condition, and I didn't want it to fall, and those transformers end up leaking everything that's in them into the water. Other than that, think we're doing pretty good, other than just trying to figure out, how we're going to approach this marine debris and what we're going to do with the pier in the future. As you all know, we got local and state declaration, but we are fighting tooth and nail, and it's not looking promising at all that we're going to get federal declaration because we didn't meet the state's threshold, which is somewhere between 38 and 39 million. And so that you understand that declaration comes when all 32 declared counties in the disaster accumulate that cumulative amount. Even if Nueces County was able to get everything that they worked hard on, and the pier and the port, unless those other 31 counties can help make up the difference, we're not going to get there. And I don't know how well they're organized or not organized. So that causes some problems for us looking into the future. But we're working really hard on that. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. You want me to touch on the debris removal, the marine debris at all?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, touch on it, and that way
So-
it sets a nice predicate for us talking about some legal questions that we have.
So, when we went out and got the quotes for marine debris, it's really important for y'all to understand everything you do that you need to execute within the first 30 days. FEMA sees that as anything that you do is following those wacky procurement processes that they have. You have an exemption in those first 30 days. So we got to work immediately. The Monday after the storm, the judge was sitting in the park office out there with the windows open, no electricity, and we were going to work. And we had Jacobs there that same day and Juan there that same day. Mm-hmm. So we got going on this, and so we could get the pier inspection done. Well, Dale knows this, and Lisa knows it more than anybody in his office. With what has happened between Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Hannah, what we found out, when you execute an engineering services contract during that time frame, it's covered under that 30 days. Well, FEMA Region 6 now is trying to tell us that no, those are considered soft costs, and they'll only cover like 5-point-something% of those soft costs. And that they should have always been doing it, and OMB just finally came down and said, hey, you can't keep doing that. That doesn't qualify. So we got that battle to fight with what we've had to do to figure out what's wrong with the pier. But so Jacobs comes in, and Jacobs gives us basically a line item list of everything that fell into the water off the end of the pier. So we took that line item list and we went to our pre-positioned debris contractor and asked him for a quote. Then Haggerty, our consultant, said, you really should try to get 3. So then we went out and we got another one from a local company called J.M. Davidson's here. And then we contacted a third. They did not want to bid on it, but that satisfied as the third quote. We just had to document that. And mind you, we're working with Haggerty, our consultant, right now, through this process. We get all this done basically within probably the first 30 days, maybe into the first 60 days, but that's okay because we got another 30-day extension. So now your emergency window went from 30 to 60. So we get it all done. But then we got really way out in front of Jacobs. So Jacobs is still trying to assess, is it a rebuild or a repair? And so we kind of stopped for a second, and I know that Commissioner Chesney and the judge were involved in this decision. Why don't we wait and see what we're dealing with as far as a rebuild or a repair? Because we may be able to save on mobilization costs. Instead of going out there and pulling this marine debris off the bottom, it's expensive, and then having to come back and do it again, let's wait and see what we get. Well, it's been a very technical process. This has taken longer than what we wanted. So Then the question becomes in, when you look at our pier leases, just from my lay perspective that we have the GLO, we're responsible for keeping those piers maintained, and we're responsible for picking up debris. And the GLO told me that fact, matter of factly, when we were looking at the debris, because at first they were going to try to do the marine debris for us, but then they came back and said, no, no, no. Under your lease agreement, that's your responsibility. And it was a way for them to get off the hook too. I mean, it's a lot of money. And so, but they did help with the parking lot. So that's kind of where we're at. We got a situation where we got to go. We can't wait around any longer. I'm concerned with getting it done before sea turtle nesting season starts, and you got a bunch of Kemps and green sea turtles swimming around. And it's going to make it extremely problematic with, observers and stuff like that. And I've already worked all that out with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So, but I think it's just really critical that we make a decision where we're going to. When we're going to do it and get it going immediately, how we're going to do it, and then how we're going to pay for it. So
Thank you,
I
Scott.
have a question.
Thank you, Scott.
Scott, after the last hurricane we had, we didn't get insurance for the bridge after that? I thought we had gotten some insurance.
You mean the pier?
The pier, I'm sorry.
Commissioner, you may be confusing that with Hurricane Ike. The pier did have a claim. It's not insurable. Elsa, when she was tenure here, she looked at trying to get insurance for the pier, and it was almost $300,000 annually to try to get any kind of insurance. And now nobody will insure it. And so as far as insurance, but we did have a claim with Hurricane Ike for Bob Hall that Commissioner, it was a long time ago. I think it was around $500,000-600,000 that we got to do repairs, and we did those repairs. So
But to answer his question, it's not insurable.
no, we can't get flood or.
I would give anything to pay $300,000 right now. Wish you could go back in time. But,
Judge,
yes, sir?
He raises a good question, and I get what he's saying about the not being able to possibly wait, because it would, provide some efficiencies, obviously, if we were going to knock the pier down, and if we were going to be able to get the marine debris out at the same time. And my initial reaction was, yeah, we can't do that. Now, the question becomes, though, I guess, being that we anticipate getting that report hopefully by the end of the month, and you and I have met, and we've talked about some options depending on what the report says, which we think we know it's going to say, and laying those out to the court. So I guess my question to you would be, we're not going to have the funds to rebuild the pier if that's what we think is going to happen right away because of the options that we've talked about. But if the report comes back that says we have to tear it down, could we possibly then say, well, we could do the tear down of the pier only and get the debris at the same time, and then keep working on the rebuild money
Yes.
as we go down the road?
Yes, sir. I think that's the best option for us. And speaking to the auditor, we've had one preliminary meeting, and that's exactly what he recommended as well.
Good recommendation.
And the only thing is, and we can talk about this, Scott wants to say something, but the one thing we want to do is paper it correctly so we can get a reimbursement provision.
Right.
And also, although I could probably make a great argument that it's an emergency, and that has to do with, you've got 90 days, because the holidays are here, and once the holidays are here, it's almost consider your year over, although we've got lots of working time, but you literally have 90 days from January to the end of March to get this barge in the water with monster equipment to try to remove everything before turtle season. I recommend that we move very quickly with the RFP, and you should probably see it on an upcoming agenda, like maybe the next one.
And so would that include the potential demolition and of the pier?
It could.
And the pickup of the debris, because that has to be cost efficient. When we're
So a
talking
good
money, we're talking
RFP
about-
could probably separate them, right? And
Right, so
say,
that we could-
give us one, so we can have the option. Give us one, bid one, the marine debris removal.
Additive.
Bid additive, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Anyway,
while
we'll
you're-
figure
while
it
you're out
out.
there, it's got to be cost efficient to do this way, because.
One would think, right?
Oh, my Lord, getting that equipment out there twice has got to be super costly.
It is.
So, yeah, I would think that would help. And again, and then we could, work on, because the rebuild, I mean, it's not cheap to demolish.
Right.
But the rebuild is obviously the bulk of And
The cost.
And, right, of the cost, as well as the parking lot. So that's going to be a large chunk. So, yeah, I would.
And because we had to do the disaster statement already, we actually know what the cost is. So we can actually tell you with specificity what the marine debris is and what the removal of the pier is, because we had to do that in order to submit to FEMA, well, to TDM to submit to FEMA.
And the parking lot.
And the parking lot. So we have all of that. So it's really great that we already have a heads up and we know more or less what the range is for these costs. But to do it formally would allow us in the future to recoup potential dollars if the president does decide to declare Hannah a federal disaster. So even though FEMA says no, the president of the United States can say yes. And even though FEMA says no, the state of Texas has the right of appeal. So there's still a couple of things, as they say, still a couple cards left to turn over before we call it quits on that avenue. But the most important thing is that we do what's needed in the time frame that's for public health and safety.
And let me speak to that time frame. I just wanted to throw this out there. After the hurricane, the Corps executed a waiver to where if you want to repair, rebuild, demo, whatever you decide to do, if you do it within that general footprint that the existing pier is in, you can do it without having to go through individual or nationwide permitting again within the first 2 years. After that 2-year window goes away, then you're probably looking at full-blown individual permitting. Individual is a lot more lengthy than nationwide. Nationwide, the core issues. Individual, you got all the agencies weighing in on. But there's been a pier there named Bob Hall since, gosh, the late 40s, early 50s, and then we've continued to go back and rebuild Bob Hall Pier one way or another. So it's not insurmountable to have to go through the permitting process if we get outside that window. I just wanted to make y'all aware of that.
Thank you so much. And there's a whole meeting that's going to take place just on funding. And as we develop our funding options, we promise to bring them to you. We're going to do some vetting with our emergency management team, our commissioners, and the city of Corpus Christi, by the way, is in the exact same boat. Not that misery loves company, but at least we're all thinking along the same lines. They have a disaster recovery management team by the name of Impact. We have one called Haggerty. And I guess the blessing is that both of us are going to be utilizing our consultant teams to figure out what these funding options are. They had similar situations, they told me, in off the coast of the Carolinas. And so they're going to bring some additional ideas for funding. So just wanted to keep you fully informed. I would be remiss if I didn't notice that May Nardone is in the back of the audience here. And thanks for social distancing. And May, let us express our sorrow in losing such an incredible place out there for locals, tourists, from the international community, that people write to you all over the world. What happened to their favorite place to observe and eat? And so I just want the court to acknowledge for the audience that it is true that Michael Mays is down. It's also true that it's not safe to inhabit it at this point. And so there is, we're going to have to also have an exercise in discussing our options as it relates to the future, because we have a contract with this concessionaire. And I know it's kind of a funny word because you're so much more than that, but that's the legal term. And so thanks for being here this morning, and we're really doing everything we can to advance the process. First, it's always about public health and safety. Second, it's about understanding what the future looks like, how much it's going to cost, what our funding sources are. But I think between the 5 of us up here, we're going to come up with a really good solution. So thanks, Scott. Kathy, good morning. Scott did a great job on just kind of giving us all things Hurricane Hannah. We're going to ask you to concentrate just on item F1 this morning. And I'm going to particularly ask you, because there's so much news about vaccines, you have been doing a ton of work along with your whole team on vaccine management. And it comes from so many different angles, but don't forget to highlight that. I know you will. But I just sent the notes from the first meeting to Tyner to disseminate to all the commissioners. And when you get your second round of notes, because you just had your second meeting, if you wouldn't mind, send those back to me and I'll send them to commissioners as well. But welcome, and please proceed.
Absolutely. Just to comment on, since you're on the Hannah at
Yes,
this
go
point in
ahead.
time, Tatum reached out to us late on Friday afternoon, right at 5 a.m. And the state is at a current threshold of 28 million. So they are reaching out to every county to try to see if they can scramble to get to the $38 million threshold. And they are willing to do whatever we need to help us to try to work with FEMA one more time. So we can talk about that online to see what Haggerty thinks that we can possibly do.
And let's clarify, just for, because, so we here in Corpus Christi have $34 million, but they won't acknowledge them. So let's be clear that the 28 million is what they acknowledge. We have that's their perspective of reality. Our perspective is that Corpus Christi, Nueces County collectively has $34 million worth of damage. They just have chosen not, this is FEMA. FEMA has chosen not to send a damage assessment recovery team, and they've chosen not to adhere to the preliminary reports of some of the finest engineering companies in the world. That is my soapbox on this particular disaster, and so I appreciate that they think that Texas is at 28, but we know that that's a false narrative.
Absolutely, and they're in total agreement that it is a false narrative.
Yeah.
And they want to do whatever it is that they can do to help us, because they believe that FEMA, because they're not doing on-site assessments like they have in the past, are having a very hard time accumulating data and getting correct information. They've been extremely difficult the entire way, and they just ask, since we are the largest submitter of claims for the state of Texas, they've asked us if we would reach out and see if we could not interface one more time with Haggerty's assistance. And so we're going to reach out and see what all the parties here want to do.
Thank
So-
you, Kathy.
Judge, to add to that soapbox a little bit, the frustrating thing is, why is there even a threshold? I mean, that's the philosophical question here that someone needs to raise a lot higher than
Some
my
point,
pay grade, because if there's damage, there's damage. If it's $5, then FEMA ought to help, because that's what they're there for. So I don't even understand why there's a threshold to begin with, because, I mean, why do you have FEMA if they're going to say, hey, sorry, that first 33 million, it doesn't even matter, it doesn't count, y'all can fix that, no problem. That just doesn't even make sense. So, I don't know where to go with that, with that part of it. I 100% agree that we have more than met the threshold. Here locally, we've had, just this pier alone, with the debris in the water, the debris on the land, the parking lot, the pier. I mean, that's pretty close to that number. Well, that's not true. That's 2/3 of that number anyway, probably. And I can't believe, with the ports damages and other areas around the coast, Galveston and they had to be affected by storm surge as well. I can't imagine that we wouldn't meet the threshold. But I not today, but if someone could show me where the language is on this, why there's even a threshold, and what the legislative intent was for that. I don't know where to find that. I don't mean to give you more work, Kathy. I don't even know who to ask for that, because that just doesn't stand to reason. I mean, why would they be there if they're going to say, hey, only if you hit a certain amount of damages are we going to help you. If not, see ya, so long, we're going to leave you hanging. Even though they are first to impose their will upon us for everything and anything, they don't want to help us when they need to help us. So that's my soapbox today, Judge.
That's fine.
I'll take a look at that. More than likely, it's in the Stafford Act, which is a national
It is.
act that was created for disaster recovery. So I'll take a look at that, and we'll get that information to you and the rest of the commissioners.
Thank you.
Nueces County,
Excuse me, Kathy, it may not be a bad idea, though, since Tatum has to actually, let's say that it stays, let's say they get to 37, but they don't get to the 38, let's just hypothetically. I think it would be important for this court to consider a resolution asking the governor to appeal. And so I might ask you, Commissioner, to go ahead and work with Tyner and work on the language and get that set for December, because that's the process of the appeal. We don't have standing. The state of Texas has standing to make that appeal. And so we're sort of the vessels that gets the governor the standing. That's my understanding of the law.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's go ahead and maybe consider that. It's just it's an ask, and we can attach all of our,
So basically, you want like a resolution of
Yeah.
us to officially
Maybe-
ask the governor to appeal on our
yeah,
behalf,
right.
basically?
And maybe get
Okay.
City of Corpus Christi, do it a joint resolution.
Okay.
Where we work with Tammy over at the city and see and if they don't want to do it that way, that's fine. We, by the way, have almost 20 million, just the county, and then the city makes up the other 14. So even if we wanted to put in our 20 for the resolution to ask for the appeal, I can't imagine why the city wouldn't, but I'm just saying, we wanted to stay in our own lanes, it's still a good idea.
Yes, ma'am, it is a good idea.
What do you think about that?
No, I think that's great. Tyner, if you can just, I don't know who, if you can have someone in your office reach out to the city, because I think it's going to be more powerful if it's a joint
agree.
resolution, I mean, without a doubt. And then I agree, I mean, I don't know what the wording needs to be, but I would think we can get that put together and put it on for the next agenda.
It'd be great.
And I'll get Paul with you as well, so just tell me what you need me to do, and I'll be happy to run with it, or if I need to contact someone at the city, I mean, whatever you need me to do.
Just shepherd it. I just think,
Yep.
just a matter of making certain that all the little connect the dots are done. I know Chief Kidd and Tatum, we've discussed this at our regional level I was on a call yesterday, so everybody on our side is in our camp and in our favor. And so it's just a matter of us sort of formalizing it as a commissioner's court. Thank you, Kathy. Let's transcend to COVID-19.
Nueces County continues an upward trend in positive cases, which is what we had anticipated. The total cases for Nueces County is 22,192. Yesterday was only 7, I say only, it was a good day. There were 7 new cases. We had 6 new deaths, which brought our death toll up to 463. Texas is experiencing a surge in COVID-positive cases. We're number 1. Number 2 is California, right behind us. El Paso is experiencing an extremely large surge in their positive cases. They have had a 1,000% increase in less than a month of COVID deaths. So Nueces, while it's going up, we're still standing in the trenches doing reasonable, considering what we're looking at. Nueces County is different than most other counties because we have a large influx of people coming into our county from across the nation and across the state, because in the summer you have our summer visitors. In the winter, you have our snowbirds. So you have an influx of cases of people coming from everywhere in the United States. So this makes it very hard for Nueces County. But what we do ask is that many people are experiencing what's called COVID fatigue, which is real and strong due to the intensity and time level that COVID-19 has taken. And this is stressful on everyone. And I know we've all experienced it. We must remain diligent in our continued safety practices and our social distancing. That is the key. And your hand washing, that is the key. That's the key to COVID. That's the key to flu. Nueces hospitalization rates fluctuate daily. As of yesterday, we have 125 confirmed COVID cases in the hospitals here in Nueces County, 10 suspected COVID cases. Nueces bed availability, 43 out of a census of 121 adult ICU beds are available. 11 out of 11 pediatric ICU beds are available. So we're looking very good when it comes to pediatrics. 149 adult vents available with 67 in use. 30 pediatric vents with 5 in use. 101 adult BiPAPs available with 5 in use. 5 pediatric BiPAPs with none in use. 220 med-surg beds are available. So our numbers are up in hospitalization, which we would expect. It kind of goes hand in hand with the number of reportings that we have. Also, our COVID burn rate is at 3.4 million. A total COVID burn rate for Nueces County, which includes the city of Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi's at 7.7 million. So that brings Nueces County total up to 12 million. We're currently recommend that our constituents still continue to take flu shots. It helps combat influenza. We are still reporting influenza cases and COVID cases. On November the 13th, which is Friday, Nueces County Office of Emergency Management met with Nueces County Health District to work together with BCFS to continue our creation of the Nueces County Public Health COVID-19 Pandemic Vaccine Plan. The county is scheduled to meet with our regional and local and state partners together to create the site operation planning. That will be on the 17th, which is Tuesday, tomorrow. We continue to work with Edward and Julie on the COVID testing. As of the reporting on the state website, Nueces County has tested 139,380 people. Now, we probably tested more than that, but that's the most current data on the state website. Our Nueces County Emergency Management is concentrating heavily on the emergency management and Nueces County, Corpus Christi Health District pandemic COVID-19 immunization plan. We anticipate that Texas, as of Friday's meeting, Texas is anticipated to get only 25,000 immunizations on the first release. So they require that at least 1,000 doses per location be disseminated at one time. So that is not very many vaccines. We are preparing to make sure that we have the proper refrigeration, understand the proper timelines. We are looking at healthcare individuals first responders, then next we will look at long-term care facilities and assisted living facilities. That will be in our phase 1. Then phase 2, you will go to the next level of determining what population will get those. And then at phase 3, the major population will be offered the vaccine. The major key with managing these vaccines are the temperature at which these vaccines must be kept, the timelines, even the timelines of which you can open the refrigerator. How many times can you open that refrigerator that's got that dosage at a minus 84 degrees? How many times can you open that refrigerator? Once you dilute that vaccination, how long can you, is that vaccination good once you've diluted it? It's not long. So the main thing is when you prepare the vaccine, and it can't go back from one, you can't go from being have saline put it and diluted it, and then go back in the freezer. Once you've diluted it, it has to be used. It's got a really short shelf life. So the key is to make sure that when you have the vaccine is that you use it well. And also that one of the key issues is that it's most of them are 2 doses. So you give a dose and then you have 21 to 28 days before the second dose is taken. So what we're currently looking at is centralizing our locations for specific drug manufacturers. Like Memorial, there'll be one type of drug given there. Robstown, there'll be one type of drug given there, so that it keeps confusion of the population down as to what drug they took, when they took it. So there's a lot of tracking that has to be done with this. We have to do our local tracking system, and then we have to do a state tracking system. Once you give that immunization, you have exactly 24 hours to load the information on that patient into the state website. So there's a lot of data collection that's done with all of this as well. You have providers who apply to be providers in this region. So we have approximately 50 providers who have applied to provide vaccinations. And they're anywhere from Amistad, the health department, CVS, HEB, Walgreens. We're looking at a lot of the major, like CVS and Walgreens, the major pharmacies, to be the ones to vaccinate the long-term care and the assisted living. So we are watching this very carefully. It's a lot of moving parts. We did a state operational exercise of which Judge Canales was one of the presenters in that exercise. But we also are looking at different ways that we can make sure that we reach the colonias areas and make sure that it's in English and that it's in Spanish and that it is on a level that a 4th grader can understand. Because if you don't make this easy, it gets too complicated for most people. So we are doing a large amount of public service announcements, PSAs, because education, and we're going to start educating people way before they have an option to get a vaccination. So we're working very diligently to make sure that the operational plan works well, because we have our security, our police, our nursing staff, and we have lots of expertise in this area. Also, with this vaccination, you have to have a 15-minute hold time once you give that vaccination, that you must watch that patient for reactions. So it's not like when you get a flu vaccine and you just drive through, get your vaccine, and then drive off. They have to get the vaccine, then we have to place them in an area and they have to wait for 15 minutes and we have to observe them. So we're looking at several different scenarios of that. And then we're also looking at Richard and Borchard Fairgrounds, because we've got where we can take them inside and social distance them and do the administration in that region as well, in that area. So we're working very diligently on these plans, and we hope to have our plans finalized in December.
That's a great report, and as much information as there, commissioners, I'm sitting here thinking we could literally, we're missing so many things. Not that that wasn't just an amazing report. I'm just saying that there are so many things that we could talk about. So I want to invite everybody to the workshop that we're going to have coming up that really is going to be addressing COVID-19 response very technically. We've set it up kind of like a conference, 30-minute intervals. So if you're not interested in a particular subject matter, you can, I guess, plan your day accordingly. But on vaccines, as we actually receive them, we can provide even more information to you, as I'm sure your constituents would want to know that. For now, just know that we've never done anything like this in our country. And so the idea that it's routine, even though we've had multiple vaccines before, including influenza, H1N1, meningitis, there's lots of vaccines that Health Department has dealt with. So in some ways, it's not completely novel, but in most ways, the logistics on this particular piece of it is really complex. And I just want you to know, we've thrown a ton of resources, which means money and human capital and intellectual capital and everything at this, because we want to be the best at it. Because as you guys know, Nueces is the healthcare center region for our entire, community. And I mean like 14 other counties. So we really know that we have a big responsibility. And when we consider some of the aspects Kathy's mentioned, like the rural community and the colonias, maybe that's something Commissioner Gonzalez could even host a particular colonia. Just that piece, you could drift it this way and just get him to assist just in that particular logistics. So anyway, and maybe Commissioner Modis, could assist just in that rural component. Use the resources that you have here. But anyway, commissioners, I think it's an incredible, like I said, I wish we could explain to you all of the details that go into Kathy's week, but you did a pretty darn good job of giving us a good overview. Are there any questions for Kathy? And she could answer either Hannah or COVID at this time. This is where you run if nobody asks a question. The truth is, you did a great job.
Thank you.
By the way, Melissa and company are not here this morning. They're actually also on a COVID-19 assignment that we will bring to you on Friday when we have a potential special meeting. We're going to discuss, maybe we can bring it up in another agenda item that might be no, it's not related. We'll have to bring it up on the next time. But we've got our COVID-19 emergency response team tackling a very important issue as well as it relates to providing more beds for this surge that South Texas is experiencing. So, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. I've got H1 as my next agenda item, and this is a board appointments, and this is styled as the announcement by the county judge. And so there's no action required from the court, but the appointment is to the Nueces County Industrial Commission, which is also known as the Nueces County Development Commission, affectionately known as NCDC, pursuant to Chapter 381 of the Texas Local Government Code. I received a resignation from Miss Lindsay Peach, and as a result, a spot has opened up for this particular commission that we as a court in 2019 developed and has been doing unbelievably great work, not just during COVID-19, but to continue the we're open for business welcome mat. And so it gives me great pleasure to tell you that I am naming Commissioner Carolyn Vaughn to this position. And I know she is going to not just go in there and take that role, but she's going to be a leader in that commission. And all of the favorite projects that we have started here together, I know that you will carry on there. And so I know that we will need to do that official letter in transition, but this is my opportunity to say, I know we're in good hands if you're there leading economic development for Nueces County.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate that. I'll do a good job.
And so now we'll move on to the consent agenda. And we have several items to present, and they range from letter A all the way to letter R. And at this time, I'll pull Q just for clarification. Commissioner Vaughn, do you have any?
I don't.
Commissioner Modis?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Gonzalez?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Chesney?
Or you said, you said for the consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
H, please.
H, you got it. Could I have a motion, please?
Commissioner, I need to pull
Judge.
item C.
Item C.
You want to table it, Dale, or pull it?
Pulled.
Pull, okay.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve all those that remain and it's everything, except for C, H, and Q.
Motion to approve.
C, C, H, and Q.
Is that, we'll wait to make sure, okay? C, H, and Q, motion and a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay,
Judge,
Dan-
if I may interrupt real quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael,
That's
forgive
okay.
me. Michael has something to add.
Yes.
Hold that thought for the clerk. Michael's going to do something here.
Okay,
Sorry.
so on the regular agenda, under purchasing 3B1 and 3B2, those are items that should have been placed on the consent agenda. They're not, they shouldn't be regular agenda items. It's just requesting to go out for bids for contracts that are going to be expiring soon. One is for the inmate telephone service, and the other is for the janitorial service. And they're both expiring in February next year, so we just want to get a head start on that.
So, Michael, the request is that they be included in
the
this.
consent agenda.
In the consent.
Well,
So
we're just, I would just make a motion to approve those.
That's fine. I'll
now.
take that.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank
Thank
you.
you, Michael. He told me in advance, and I apologize, Michael, that I didn't remember. Okay, so let's start. I just like taking them in alpha order. So Dale, will you start us off with letter C?
Yes, Your Honor, this was just a small typographical error on the item C. In your information you provided, item number 6, you had a incorrect value of $13,446.11. That balance should have only been $112.50. You should have been provided the revised schedule of the special motions, so you'll now see the revised that you should have in front of you. So I submit the special motions as it is with the amendment of item number 6.
Thank you. I'll take that, a good explanation.
Motion.
I've got the motion by Commissioner Modis. And a second by Gonzalez. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and then let's go to H, please.
I just wanted to be able to vote separately on that, because I need to vote no, because I believe, and I don't want to rehash the whole discussion, although strangely enough, we didn't have that discussion in the public. We ended up having it in closed session, and I know there were people here that wanted to talk, but I just wanted to vote separately on that.
Okay, okay, thank you, Commissioner.
So move.
Okay. And do you want to just,
And Judge, can I maybe
Yes.
add some light to this? If we recall, when we brought this item for court last time, we had 2 yeses, 1 no, and 2 abstains.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure the court is reminded of how they voted before, and if they want to.
I was going to say, I
to
think it
emulate-
just goes.
If y'all want to emulate that again for this,
Got
to
it.
be consistent, just
That's
so y'all are
exactly what I
aware.
was just about to say. If that's okay, Commissioner, he just follows the same rules.
So
Okay? All those in, thank you. So I do have a motion, Commissioner Gonzalez. Can I get a second, though?
Second.
Commissioner Modis, second, and then all those in favor signify by saying aye. And then the noes,
no.
and then the abstentions, myself,
And me.
Commissioner Vaughn for the record. Okay, that coordinates. Thank you. Now we'll go with Commissioner, myself on Q. All I wanted to point out is sometimes it gets lost, so I wanted to make sure that you saw that we have one more transfer allocation that we're going to accept right now from the city of Corpus Christi. It's an additional $415,000 from the CARES Act. So we're going to use those funds to provide air filters for all the courtrooms, all over. Every courtroom is going to have a special ionization air filter that kills molds and mildew and viruses and bacteria. And it's a really good machine. Later, I'll have Juan come and explain it to you whenever we can, maybe even demonstrate it. But this was something that we thought was important as we reopen the courts. And I did not mention this, but we'll have to, since we're having another meeting this week, I'll tell you about the new Supreme Court decision about jury trials and the extensions. But still, these air filters are very important.
And
Okay.
Dale, could I just
That's
ask?
just one piece of it.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you if
it's
I
okay.
did. Dale, could you provide, and you may have, and I just haven't seen it recently, a running list of what we've spent, our burn time, all that stuff, and then how much we've got reimbursed, so that the court can just keep up on what we've spent and how much we've got reimbursed, and if we're still in the hole, or if we're back to even, or wherever we are? Would that be
For COVID, no problem. We can give you a list of everything we spent and what we've received.
Oh, okay,
And just so you know, your daily burn rate, I'll just caution you, open it up twice. So open it up and then go to your tabs. And the tabs,
Oh, the second opening?
yeah, in other words, to me, it always looks like you're just getting that one great spreadsheet, but then if you look at it, you'll see your tabs are up top.
you know what, I may
And
not
then
have- I haven't
all the
done that.
detail that you're asking for is there by subject matter. So if
I
you
didn't-
want
okay,
personnel.
I did not open the second one.
I know,
didn't know.
it's hard to, it doesn't say it, but it's all there. And then on the reimbursements, we do have a great summary, but I think that, I'll send it to you from Maria. She's in charge of submitting the reimbursement request, but I can tell you that we have $3.4 million pending to Tatum right now. And I'll be signing another $630,000 this week for the governor's fund. So,
But the burn rate then doesn't have the reimbursement?
no,
Okay,
burn
I'm
rate
not
is just
saying-
what we
no, okay,
spend,
I thought
but
maybe
it's,
I'd-
but,
okay,
but
my
every
bad.
day you
I've
get
seen
it.
that,
It's
right, I've
not
seen the burn
weekly,
rate.
it's daily, daily burn rate.
Right,
And then on the reimbursements, let me send it to you from, grants, because we track that daily, and what we do is you can see online where each of our reimbursement is inside the Tatum portal. So all our money gets reimbursed by the state of Texas, and so you can see where we are in the process.
Well, unless it comes from the city, that would be reimbursement.
Oh, well, that's true, but no, you know what, it shows that too.
Right.
The
Okay, so
transfer out.
So, yeah, I mean, if there's just a way, I don't need it daily, I just, maybe even a monthly report that
Yeah.
says, we spent 5 million and we've got 3 million reimbursed, or whatever the number
Right.
is, and we've got this much outstanding. However it can be
Correct.
sent in simple form, that would be great if that's possible.
No, I think it is possible, don't you?
Yeah, we can tell you exactly how much we've received so far in actual cash funds, and as the judge said, we've got a lot of pending requests through TDM. As well as he said, the city has transferred some of their allocation of the code virus funds. However, that's still sitting in TDM. So we haven't received the money from the city. They've transferred the allocation over to the state to give to us as our reimbursements or requests
Think
are
of it
in,
as a
so.
bank account.
Just a simple, if we could just put it in one little
Yeah.
paragraph.
What we can do is,
something, that'd be
we can definitely work with Maria and say,
Thank you.
this is how much we received and this is how much is pending.
Right.
Thank you very much.
But just because I happen to know it, we got 3.8 million from the city of Corpus Christi
Total?
total
what we
in
got.
I mean, it may be off with cents.
No,
Okay,
I
I'm just
understood.
giving you,
So-
yeah,
what do you-
3.8 million in allocations from the city of Corpus Christi
And then what do you,
in 3 different,
to ask you, what do you,
Mm-hmm.
if you know, what approximately have we spent and what approximately have we gotten reimbursed?
okay,
You
so.
may not know that, I don't mean to put you
No,
on the spot.
I know.
I would think you do.
Absolutely, down to the penny.
I'm sure.
So basically, we've gotten about $4.4 million total allocated to us, and we're gonna spend about $4.5 million. Okay, so for everything to date, through December 15th.
And
So
that
we have
includes like labor cost,
everything.
all that stuff? Okay.
Everything. Now, the one thing we have requested, and we need to get some more, and Dale and I are gonna work on it, is law enforcement. We're still missing the law enforcement chunk of it. There's some very specific rules about what you can and cannot apply for. And that also includes, hospital district reimbursements as well. But there are some that are, yet to be, so you don't get reimbursed until you spend.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
So some, for example, haven't even been spent yet from the hospital district. For example, they've allocated up to $3 million for step-down unit, but they haven't been asked to pay a dime yet. So until they spend, there's no way to
Right.
get reimbursed.
But you're thinking we're pretty much at a almost break-even point based on
Yes,
what
sir.
we spent?
Yes,
and
sir.
what we've been reimbursed for?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I won't,
I think that's important for people to know.
It
that.
is, and just, the process is incredibly laborious. But it's unlike FEMA, it's better than FEMA in that our money is secure. Our money is there, but getting it requires a tremendous amount of paperwork. But the portal kind of gives you an opportunity to see where we are. And you know how I said we put a ton of human capital and money into vaccination? So if you ask me, what's going on right now with like your world, Barbara? So like 50% is all human capital in vaccination, the other half is in reimbursement. In other words, we've poured in tons of effort into getting our dollars back. What's my goal? December 31st. What's our deadline? December 15th. That's the last day Tatum will accept your invoices. So we're on an internal deadline here within December 1st. So this is an all call. If there's something important,
For COVID.
for COVID.
So, but then obviously it starts over next year because we're not getting out of this anytime soon. So-
That's correct,
Okay.
but there's no more stimulus money
Gotcha, okay.
from that bucket. But there are other buckets, and we'll be pursuing that, those other
Starts
buckets.
over again.
Right,
Right,
okay.
but we do anticipate we will get a stimulus bill, but probably not till February.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. But we'll still get you all the detail that you've requested. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a motion for the clerk to make sure I do that correctly. Motion
moved.
and a second,
Second.
and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you for that. Let's move to the canvassing of the results. Very exciting.
I have one question, Judge.
Yes,
please.
sir, hold
You
on.
don't mind, you don't mind, I hate to go back to this, but I was looking at the boards, Tyner, well, this, do we have the deadlines with those, when they expire and all that?
Are they
It's a whole bunch of years.
online, Tyner?
That's correct. Once this gets approved, and they're all gonna be pretty standard, that they're gonna be open,
Starting with-
they'll open today, they'll close November 23rd, and we'll recommend appointing December 2nd. And that's standard for all those boards.
All of them? Okay. Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Could you give Commissioner just a little rundown, though, of them? Just go ahead and email it to him.
Oh,
Email
yeah.
it to everybody.
I sure will. If,
Make it easier for everybody.
yeah, if you look at the attached, I'm sorry, I misspoke. The Emergency Services District number 6 would open today and close Wednesday, November 23rd. And that appointment would be December 2nd. And then all other boards,
Which one, Tyner, I'm sorry?
Emergency Services District number 6.
6, okay.
And then all other boards would open today and close Monday, December 7th. And then the appointments would be December 16th by Commissioner's Court.
Okay, so it changed from the 2nd to the 16th now, right? You said 2nd a while ago.
He did.
I don't know, Judge, and I'm not, I know that with Councilmember-elect Martinez, we'll have another one there. Has he submitted his, what do we have to do on that one?
It is
He did.
resignation.
He
So you're gonna
did.
post that one too on the next?
Yeah,
one?
yes,
Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Can we, yeah.
I
could we
think it's on here, no, it's not.
Nope.
Yes, it
It-
is.
Oh,
It
yeah, it
is.
is. I'm
It's
sorry,
number
that is.
2.
Okay,
It's
my
number
bad.
2.
And I'd
Oh,
like
I
to
saw it.
report to the court that as suggested last court, we had the South Texas Water Authority posting, and we were able to get that on social media and our website, and it was posted as usual. If you're a member of the county posting, then you would have gotten notification of that posting. So if you haven't joined, Robert Duran's been operating that now. So I'll give you all another opportunity to join that link, and then you'll get those notifications. And I'm really trying to push staff, including Connie, to get our Granicus board software up and running, and I'm hopeful that we'll do a demonstration on December 16th and get it operational by the first of the year.
Pretty exciting.
And then, and I just saw on here that there's a special meeting called for the 19th because more than 3 commissioners or whatever are going to be there. And I know it's kind of late, but would there be the possibility to add a couple of things to that posting since today's that day?
Our deadline would have been 9 a.m., but we plan on having a special meeting Friday.
Oh, another one on Friday?
No,
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
couldn't, we had a conflict on Thursday.
Sorry, Friday, right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
and so it's
19th.
Friday, whatever the 19th
Oh,
is.
wait. No, wait.
Hold on, let me get the calendar.
19th is Thursday.
Thursday is the 19th.
Yeah, so it turned out that we had a Colonias meeting that was posted at the same time. So we now believe Friday is the best date instead of Thursday for the special meeting. Only one
And
special
so
meeting.
if you have agenda items for Friday,
They're small, they're
You
like
can get them to time
yeah, I'd like to get 'em
resolution
this
and a bid
afternoon.
awarding, you know, so we can do those still?
by
yes,
the afternoon,
so-
by 4, Tyner,
please.
or by 4 o'clock, please?
Please.
So then this agenda that we just got, hold on, which is
That,
November.
that agenda is directed at the Colonia initiatives
Yeah.
only.
Still happening.
Yeah, and just so you know, you don't, it's just, here's the thing, if we all want to go, we have to post it.
No, I got it.
And that's why we did it.
Okay, so you're
you don't
saying there's
have
gonna
to
be
go.
another one on the 20th in addition to this one on the 19th? Okay, that's the one I haven't seen yet. Okay, got it, I'm sorry then.
Got it.
And what's the purpose of the 20th, I'm sorry?
Be posting late
don't know.
today, please.
Yeah, the
So-
purpose, he wants to know the purpose of the 20th, there's an Amistad contract for it's all reimbursement driven. We had some, I'm gonna call them housekeeping issues that needed to get, would that be fair, Laura? Just housekeeping issues with contracts that need to be clarified. And, it had to do with the city changing their minds and pitching it back to us. And so we need to do that so I can meet my December 1st internal deadline for reimbursements. And it will not take long, I don't think, at all.
Okay, so
But
then
if-
I just need to
but
get
we
you
need
those
it.
other ones for the
It'll be a Zoom, virtual meeting as well.
Friday one, Will?
Yes.
And you know what time that is at this point?
Shooting for 9 AM again, if that's okay with the court.
Fine with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move to, I think I said it was exciting, and it still is exciting, the declaring the results of the November 3rd, 2020 general election in accordance with Chapter 67 of the Election Code, State of Texas. Here comes some handouts.
I believe the clerk emailed this to you. I just got a
And
paper
it's-
copy in case you
It's
need it.
super interesting because it gives it to you precinct by precinct.
Just in case you need it.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody got it? And you've had it for email? And so, Kara, would you lead this discussion? Right, County Clerk.
Pretty simple, thank you. So we are done. We have finished our
Candace?
November general election, ballot board reconvened to count any ballots we've received by mail that we could legally count if we received them the day after the election, if they were postmarked.
Is her mic on, Connie? It is? Okay, sorry. Not as well as I normally do, I don't know.
There you go.
Try it again, if you don't mind, start over.
So thank you. So we're done with the election, with the November general election. And ballot board reconvened last week after 6 days, and they counted every legal vote that we received in the mail. If we received a mail ballot the day after the election, but it was postmarked the day of the election or prior, it could be counted, and those were. Also, any military and overseas ballots that we received within the deadline were also counted by ballot board. So any provisional ballots that were accepted by ballot board, those were also counted. So the numbers went up just a little bit, didn't change any of the outcomes. The outcomes are still the same. But yes, so this is your canvas report that you as the governing body just must accept. It's a lot different than it was back in, the olden days, is because we're vote centers. So you really can't do a tally with every location. I mean, that would take forever. But you know what? The results are what they are. And so I just respectfully ask that y'all accept the results so I can get them certified with the state.
Motion to approve. So I've got a motion and a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Hi, and I just wanted to add, that was a great, smooth election. That was record turnout. I mean, I think people all over Texas did a great job. I mean, we really I think we shined throughout the country. So congratulations, y'all did a really good job. And having that many votes counted that quick, I will tell you, I wasn't expecting it, so.
We learned our lesson.
It was a lot
Well,
of,
voting centers are great.
They are.
And that really is what people like. It took a little while maybe initially for people to say, oh, wait, I'm not,
I can vote anywhere.
I can vote anywhere. But I think, and I'd like to commend the RTA for free transportation to any of those voting centers. And I think curbside voting is great for those that have disabilities and special needs. And of course, our mail-in ballots, everything, every way we have allows people their ability to exercise their vote. So
And that's our job, is to
That's
make
your
sure
job,
that my job is to protect the rights of voters.
Yeah.
Right? And to ensure that every registered voter in Nueces County, they want to vote,
Yeah.
you know what, we're going to provide them a place to vote. That's what
Yeah.
we want. So.
and it was safe
Yes,
and
it was safe.
and it was secure.
Yes,
And
everything.
I didn't hear horrible lines, although some people
Yeah.
did have to wait, but I'm saying we didn't have,
Right. Oh, well,
Lines
I
are
don't know.
good.
Hours and
Lines are
hours and
kinda
hours
cool
of
because
lines.
that means lots of people are voting.
that's true.
Man, it was incredible.
on the
So,
first day of early voting, there are a few people that got in line at like 6 because they want to be the first one to vote.
To vote.
So if they waited in line, they actually got in line 2 hours before
Correct.
it opened. But you know what? Everyone that worked the elections, all of, my staff and my elections team, all the judges, the presiding judges, y'all's help, even the candidates, and especially the voters. Everyone, I really think, you know what? They just wanted to vote, and everyone worked together, and there just wasn't any problems.
Yeah,
like
and the
we
only
see,
thing I
so-
want to mention is not a problem per se, but just something, since you're very active in the association, I thought it was very interesting. I got a call from someone that I care about a lot, and they suffer from Parkinson's.
Okay.
And they think that we should advocate, how we have the signature matching, that we have people who have chronic illness that affects their signature.
Right.
And I thought that was a really important advocacy issue, and I'm just going to throw it out to you and say, whatever you come up, or when you
Right.
go to your conferences or you talk about it with your other associations, will you check into it and get back to me so I can get back to them?
Yeah. So
I
we
just think it's a
have-
really good issue, because this person is not,
Right.
would normally have a fine signature, but because of Parkinson's,
Right.
does not. And
I-
it's,
It is, and I agree, and we've been working on this, and something that we've worked towards, and it just hasn't made yet. There is a cure period for provisional ballots. I think there should be a cure, my personal opinion. I
Yes.
think there should be a cure period if your ballot gets rejected because the signatures don't match, right? And I think
I
that you should
agree.
be able to come in and prove, hey, that's me,
Right.
I do.
or if you just because that was such an important issue, so many millions of Americans suffering from Parkinson's. And I know that they're working on it at a national level. I just thought
Yeah.
I'd mention it because it
No,
was
no, and I agree with
interesting.
you, it's something that really needs to
So,
get done, so.
okay,
thank
well,
you.
thank you. Can you help me? Did we say aye? Yes, okay, so we're good. Okay, thank you so much. He has been waiting patiently, I think, out in the hallway. I'll ask Deputy Vasquez, listen to me, Deputy Vasquez to ask Judge Joe Benavides, JP Precinct 1, Place 1.
Excuse me, Judge, we
Yes?
actually have Kevin Hazel
Okay,
on the Zoom meeting,
yes, sir?
and that is, we understand is who's going to be presenting for the judge.
Oh, okay, forgive me. I just saw that the judge was here. Recognizing you, Judge, we have Kevin Hazel on the line. Would you like to start, or Mr. Hazel?
I would like to start, and then Dr. Silva, and then Kevin Hazel.
Okay, well, we've got the agenda now. Please proceed, Judge, welcome. You're going to talk to us about truancy prevention.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, the Honorable County Judge, and also the Honorable Commissioners of the Nueces County Commissioners Court. I would like to express my appreciation to everyone on the Commissioners Court, thanking everyone for your full support and involvement for our grant program that recently was awarded to Panorama, which provides funds for CCISD Miller High School and the schools that fall in the Vertical Learning Committee. Panorama, with all other partners, play a crucial role in curtailing the dropout and truancy issues we have here in Nueces. Thank you for your involvement and continued support in combating truancy in Nueces County. As the presiding judge for the Justice Courts, I have continued to find solutions to make a difference in our county on ensuring that our students from Corpus Christi Independent School District, Flower Bluff Independent School District, Toloso Independent School District, Cal Allen Independent School District, West Oso Independent School District, Robstown Independent School District, and all the other ISDs in Nueces County area to ensure that our students in Nueces graduate and go on to higher education, a trade school, or the military. But we want to make sure that we ensure that they have our full support. We as a whole greatly appreciate your support in finding solutions to combat our truancy issues in Nueces County. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Ralph Silva of CCISD to address the solutions and/or ensuring that our students have been given the opportunity to a higher education. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Nice to see you again.
Good morning.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Commissioners, County Judge Canales. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone and Judge Joe Benavides for providing us with a tool, a tracking tool where we can monitor the attendance of our students in CCISD. Again, this tool just supplements the current system that we have in place for tracking attendance. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Kevin Hazel, and he is a representative from Panorama, and he will be giving you a brief overview on how the system works for tracking attendance.
Excellent. Welcome. Mr. Hazel, we're ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me join this morning. So like Dr. Silva said, we've been working with the Miller VLC in Corpus Christi ISD over the past year to implement Panorama's Student Success Platform, which is really used to support districts in identifying students that are struggling with their attendance and also cutting across other indicators of student performance like behavior incidents, coursework, and so on. So Dr. Silva just asked me to do a quick overview of what lives in the Panorama platform. Here I am actually using a demo account because we did not want to share Corpus Christi schools data live today. But this is the same platform that we currently have in place for the Miller virtual learning community in Corpus Christi ISD. So this is really a tool for everyone from a district administrator down to a school administrator and a classroom educator to really understand the whole child with an emphasis on understanding issues of attendance and how that relates to student performance as a whole. So in Corpus Christi today, district leaders are able to look across each of these indicator bars, so looking at academics in their coursework, attendance, behavior, and social emotional learning screener that we have been administering over the past year for the district. This data is all brought in from Corpus Christi's school information system. And we're able to look at data and surface issues around attendance through an equity lens. So understanding how attendance might differ based on grade level, looking across race and ethnicity, and things like that. And then as a school leader, we are supporting in elevating students that have been deemed chronically absent through this attendance dashboard. So on the, on the attendance dashboard, schools are able to set their goal for attendance this year and are able to look at trends over time. And then we use it as an early warning system to show when students are beginning to trend downward on their daily attendance. So by using this platform, districts are, or schools within the Miller VLC are able to group students and based on attendance. So really quickly elevating the students that we might want to intervene with today. And they're able to actually really quickly surface those students' attendance, take stock of how many days that these students have missed so far this school year, save groups of students to intervene with, and then actually create plans for these students right within the platform. So if for these 5 students, I want to create an intervention plan around attendance, I can say, I can actually track all the data or track the actions that I'm taking alongside the data that I'm acting on here. So that was a really broad overview of how the tool works at the campus level. And wanted to also just point out that at the student level, you're able to look across attendance and looking at coursework. And so we're able to see when students might have missed a course over the course of a given year. And we can also look at that data alongside their grades to surface issues that we might want to follow up with. For example, the student receiving a C in their math class and also missing that class 16 times so far. So we're able to really quickly surface students for intervention and just monitor attendance in a robust way alongside those other indicators of success. So I will stop there, but please feel free to let me know if you have any questions.
It's a great analytical program, Judge.
It's all about technology, and I think this is a tool we're going to use in the future.
Oh, it's great. What I like about it is that it allows you to schedule for intervention. I had a daughter with a chronic illness who missed school all the time, and if you don't have a good tool like this, it just looks one way on paper. But if you have notes in the file and intervention, and you can see, oh, this is a great student, she's just sick. And it just, to me, it really allows you to look at the individual rather than lump them in. And then somewhere along the way, at least when my kids were in high school, we changed the rules where you had to turn in a doctor's note within 3 days. Well, this is very difficult for a lot of kids. The 3-day rule doesn't always work. Now, we like it for us so that we can document very easily, but what I didn't like is that it was often very difficult to accept a note after the 3 days. We need to make sure that that's not an issue. If you get a doctor note at any time, that should be excused.
Exactly.
That to me is, puts the burden on the child rather than the parent. It's not usually the child who's a minor who has the ability to get that doctor's note. So if you have a responsible parent, you're in luck. If you have an irresponsible one or one that's not following, doesn't have the ability to, anyway, you get the point.
Yes,
But
I do.
I really like this system, and but there's been a lot of gaps, and I think this is going to help you fill those gaps.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to close by saying thank you so much, County Judge and the Commissioners, for giving us this opportunity. But most importantly, also Maria Badia, the Director of the Grants Department. She made this happen for us as a whole, and I think we're just this is going to be the future. And I think it's a great program. And also I want to thank CCISD. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being
Judge, just
involved.
real
Are there
quick,
any questions?
I just wanted to say, Judge, great job. We appreciate your initiative on this. Also, congrats on your recent election. So we're really happy to know that you're going to be working on this for another 5 years or 4 years plus, right? So
4 years and a month.
And I'm glad you're feeling better. It's great to see you in person here. And so we're very happy that you're feeling good as well, too.
Thank you so much,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner.
Thank you for being here.
Congratulations, Judge.
God bless you all. God bless
That's
America.
great. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a good one. Let's move on to the issue of personnel change reports and any type of approval processes, related matters. Dale, I know there's a will of the court to have certain items brought to court for transparency purposes. Can you, does anyone want to engage in this and with Dale and start this process, Commissioner? Would you like to? Yes, sir.
Oh, well, I'm getting, I was trying to.
Either way, no, I'm just saying whoever wants to start, you or Dale.
I'm just saying on this one here, we've been asking for this report for a while now, but, and we used to get them all the time on personnel changes. I mean, if we would have had those reports, probably whatever was happening here, we would have seen it because, it just, the reports are very important because it gives you all the changes within internally, what's going on, who's being paid, who left, who's not being paid, or who's in leave, and, if supplement pay would have showed up there also, and I think that's important that we continue to get these reports. I know we've asked HR for a while now, 2-3 times, if we can get them, and I don't know, it says something has to come from Dale, and Dale says, I guess, does it come from her, I guess, right, Dale?
Well, in the past, my staff was having to do this because of the software we were using, and HR wasn't able to provide the information. This information is human resources related, so the personal change report, as well as anything, should come from HR, since HR does do the direction of this. If it would come from my staff, I guarantee you all of it would be delayed information, and it would already been happening, and you would have no chance of approving it. So we've been trying to work with HR to do this, and of course, they're only have 4 or 5 employees on the staff, so it might be a little bit difficult for them. But my payroll staff is very limited as well to do this. With the addition of the new software, NeoGov, they were able to do some more modernization of this, but they should still be able to provide you a list of all the employees, either new hires or whether they were terminated or left on a leave of absence, or whether they decided to leave on their own, and then they should be able to provide you that information, and information should come from Human Resources. But we can assist as much as we need to.
And what I'm going to propose is just, if there's something significant like that, and you're going to know it when you see it, just bring it to court like you would a change order or anything. The commissioner wants transparency. That's what we're all committed to. So just bring it to court so that everybody has eyes on it. But
And
can
the only
you
reason why
remind
the one that was done for HR for supplemental pay, because we did receive NCF ones that were signed by all parties. So we assumed that it was already brought before court. Otherwise, we would demand that it become before court before we pay for this, as we've done in the past. So any other supplemental pay, or whether they do any other adding or deleting of staff, that you should come to court, because y'all have the authority to do that, to set the policy.
And can you just remind us on NeoGov, if we all want to look at it, so we just, it doesn't have to be this moment, but can you send us a little something so that, in other words, it's my understanding that Commissioner's saying, hey, we always used to get this, but we now have a more modern situation, but anybody can access it, correct?
The NeoGov, once
not?
HR will send you an application, they should be able to send you information on how to access the system and get the information that you need for what you're providing for. This is a new system we've had for, I think, 2 or 3 years. It's done very well in recruiting. We brought a lot more different recruiting. There's some more avenues on there for applicant tracking and other stuff that HR would be more directly to tell you how that functions, because I'm not dealing with that side of it. But they should be able to inform you of how to access information and provide you the information you need.
Got it.
So, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the other question I had, you said they were all signed by all parties, but the ones you sent me, half were signed.
The ones that had the supplemental pay were signed, the one that reduced the supplemental pay were not signed. So they were, the ones that were not signed were a reduction of the supplemental pay. So we assumed that once it was because the supplemental pay was for a one time only. So then we brought in the other forms that came in to take the salary back to what it was before the supplemental pay was done.
So, okay, so the example that has been brought up before, which was the HR supplemental pay.
Mm-hmm.
From what I got, it didn't look like that was a one-time thing. It looked like it was recurring for a period of time, which added up to a pretty significant amount of money, which we all might have voted for anyway, but I'm just trying to figure out how, so on that HR, was that a one-time thing? Or
I'll
is that-
just see how payroll paid this function. The way the NCF one form said, it was for a one-time supplemental payment amount. I'll have to verify that with payroll. But I think the NCF one said a 2,000 or 4,000 or 1,000, whatever it was a one-time payment. So it was a one-time additional supplemental pay. And it wasn't a biweekly pay cycle.
Okay, so if you would check that, because what I've got
Most definitely.
shows it was not a one-time, it was biweekly for a period of time.
All right.
That's what I've got. Check it
We'll
out.
definitely make sure that.
And I'd like to just understand why that was done, if anyone knows that, why there was supplemental pay to one department, because obviously that could be something that could certainly raise the ire of other employees, and I want to make sure that we're
And
again.
we feel the same way that once we looked into that probably should have been brought before court. to function this, why it wasn't. That was during a person was on leave, and it was during coronavirus time, so there was different emergency necessary needs for this. So, but we'll research this and see how it was paid to make sure the balance was done, and this most likely should have been brought before court for approval. But this particular time, HR went through other processes to get it approved, and once we got the form that said it was approved by all members of this, that required signatures for our staff, that's why it got paid.
Did you also check to see if, in addition to supplemental pay, if they also got overtime? Because that would be concerning to me if there was an overtime payment and a supplemental payment. I don't know that there was. I have nothing that shows that there was, but I know we were paying a lot of overtime to a lot of people during those times, justifiably so, but certainly overtime plus supplemental pay would be concerning to me as well. So I would like to know a little bit more about this particular thing and how this got done, because it's completely understandable that what you described, you got the signatures, you thought it had come to court. So if you could look into those things, and then how do we safeguard, and again, I don't think anybody did anything wrong here. I don't know that anybody did. I'm just could have been a slip through the cracks thing, and that happens. I mean, we got tons and tons of things going on. How do we make sure that this doesn't happen? Do we send something to all department heads that says, hey, remember, no ifs, ands, or buts, supplemental pay has to come to the court? Or would that be the easiest way? I mean, I don't know.
There are different supplemental pay we needed to look into. If it's supplemental pay during the middle of the year, yes. If there was supplemental pay that was on the budget cycle, that we had a few supplemental pays that were added to this year's budget, as well as some car allowances that were added as part of the budget cycle. So it was a budgeted item, so that wouldn't necessarily need to come to court because it was already budgeted for. It's just that those items that were not budgeted.
No, that's a good point. So when
A
we
written policy?
Yeah, when we budget supplemental pay, that doesn't necessarily, we're approving that pay. We're just approving the line item in case it's needed, right?
Correct.
So I wouldn't agree then that just because it's budgeted, we shouldn't see it, because I think it's going to get us in a heck of a lot of trouble if this happens and one department does it and gets it through and the other one doesn't. So there's got to be some consistency. So even though we put in the contingency, which is smart budgeting, right? I don't want the supplemental pay. And I'm one of five. I don't want the supplemental pay to be approved without it coming to us, because I just think that's a dangerous.
And we do agree with you, Commissioner, as has been the past, except for this one little situation, is most time the department heads or stuff will either call HR or call my staff and say, what process do I need to do this, this, and this? And we say, of course, if it's an addition to salary, it has to be brought before court before we can process it.
So then.
We direct them to do that before it's gone through to go to HR to get it brought before court.
Okay, so maybe because this was HR that did it, they didn't have to run it by anybody like people run it by HR, which could look bad. Not saying, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm saying could look, so we've really got to be careful with this. I mean,
Exactly, yes.
Because it was about 11,000 is what I've got.
I believe you're correct.
That was paid, and that's, it wasn't a couple $100.
I believe you're correct.
And
I
even
believe
if it's
that 11,000 was the correct amount, yes.
$5 or $500, I mean, it should be, to me, that, I'm not trying to beat the horse, but it should be coming through the court. So if we need to pass, as the judge says, a policy, or if you believe that policy's in place, then we need to reiterate that policy to every department head that every supplemental pay has to come to the court. Because, let me tell you, the judge signs 1,000, there's no way she's gonna catch every one of these, and I know she looks at every one of them, and I am not in any way, I mean, oh my God, I can't even imagine the POs she signed over the last 2 years with COVID. So, I mean, this has got to be a better system. I mean, because this may be an isolated deal, may have never happened before, may have never happened again, but please, if we need to pass policy, tell me. If we don't, you think there is one, then please send it out to all department heads.
I know the HR policy does state something about this, where whether it's a new hire or a new position, Commissioners Court does set the salaries for each one of them, and it should be brought before court. New hires may not be an issue because we have new hires going back and forth all the time, and we can bring those to you. However, once someone's hired and you have court 3 weeks later, well, we've already been paying them for 3 weeks, so it's really a moot point that we know they're rehired. But definitely for supplemental pay or any additional pay that's not already budgeted for, we recommend and we tell whatever department's calling my staff that it must come to HR and must come to court for approval.
In fact, probably in the future, I think if we just said if and it doesn't go to court, then we're going to take it back from you. I mean, we've just got to do this right? So that's all I'm saying. And that may
What
be
we
too
try to
much.
say, if we don't, we normally would say if it doesn't go through court, it doesn't get approved and we don't get paid.
Okay, so if you can, that's fine. And if you feel like there's already that policy in place, if you could just reiterate it to department heads, if you could send me the info as to whether or not they were also paid OT during the supplemental pay, I would certainly like to see that, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Commissioner and County Judge, basically, there already exist an order. At the time of budget, you obviously approve different kinds of orders. One is, freezing of salaries. In this situation, it also includes benefits. So that supplement would be considered a benefit. And with that, it is specific that it must come to court. So
Thank
it's
you very
already
much.
there, maybe perhaps
you could-
reissuing it that,
Maybe if you-
sending it to all the departments, reminding them, especially HR. HR needs to know that it has to be brought into court.
That'd be great. If you and Dale could send that to them or whoever that'd be awesome.
And just because you asked, and because I asked before court if it was okay, I sent it to Commissioner Gonzalez, and then now I just sent it to you, and I think I sent it to Tyner, which is that, there is I asked for an explanation, and I got it from HR. So you're gonna see a
Thank you. I just saw
detailed
that.
explanation.
Thank you. I'll look
Just
at that
because
carefully.
because it was, I don't wanna say it was private, but it was given to the county attorney and just to the county attorney from HR. I wanted to make sure it was okay. She said, yes. So now you have the same explanation that was given to me as
Very
well.
helpful. Thank you.
But regardless, the department head should know the rules and the policies, and it sounds like you've got one in there, and when they don't bring it, it does not look good.
Correct.
It looks bad. It looks like there's a reason that they didn't bring it forward, and they were trying to get away with something, and that looks bad. So I think you already have the policy, Dale.
There, like I said, the policy in the procedure manual, the policies, of the personnel policy changes actually describe the procedures of what to be done. And any time that we have something come to my staff and payroll, they go, well, this was not done this. Well, normally the department will call my staff and say, or my budget team and go, what do I do to do this? Well, we go, okay, if it has to do anything with supplemental pay, increasing a salary, adding new positions, or whatever this, it must come through court, because under your budget authority, y'all have the power to do anything with employees' portions. So we told them, we will not process anything until it comes to court and approved. So we've instructed several departments. We've instructed the district clerk, we've instructed the tax office, we've instructed the district attorney, several of the JPs that wanted to do some additional stuff. We go, that has to come through court, including possibly adding temporary.
Yeah.
So that's something that needs to be brought for court. So even though they may have a temporary budget in there, and it may not, but if they exceed that temporary budget, we say, well, we need additional money that y'all need to be brought forward to. So the policy does say that HR should be working with these departments, that if they need a new personnel or they're requesting additional things that we're not budgeted for, it must be brought to court.
And so, leaving here, I mean, we know who's carrying this forward. I mean, we know that this is going to be conveyed to the elected officials, the department heads.
We will work with HR to direct something about the policies and procedures on anything to do with salary-related information. And on and what we can do on the personal change report, my staff and I can start trying to reproduce this. Again, this will be dated information, is that the information you'll be provided for would have already happened. So all it would be a ratification. It would not be an approval situation. Most likely it'd be best if the information came from HR, because they get the information before anybody else. And we've been trying to work with them, and because of all the stuff going on with COVID and working with her staff on trying to do COVID testing, it's been very difficult to schedule time to try to create a personal change report, and that's why we haven't brought one to you at the present. And like I said, my staff is working on 4 payrolls this pay period because of the holidays. It's just time consuming, and I can do this. If we can do this, I can bring in more temporary assistance to probably put together a personal change report, or I might need to have more resources on my staff to be able to do this, if you want my staff to
Or
do
you
it.
could give them supplemental pay.
We could do that too.
Yeah, bring it to
And that
court.
is exactly what happened. I don't want to get into the weeds. We have a policy. Let's just keep to the policy. The point is that I think it's really interesting when you bring up supplemental pay and overtime, and I'd love to have a legal discussion with you over it. It is possible to have both because they have different definitions under the Department of Labor. So don't get hung up on what the idea that you couldn't have had both. You absolutely could have. Supplemental pay could have been from Monday through Friday, and overtime could have been Saturday or Sunday. It's
And HR only
absolutely
has one employee that's exempt.
yeah, so trust me, there is a million ways to cut the cake here. I think the best way, it was already said, is that we want to make sure that there's transparency and that there's a way to put eyes on it. The best definition I heard in the last few minutes is if it's a budgeted item that Dale has identified, right, like the cars, or that would be a different. But I think everybody can figure out there's a difference between the budgeted and the normal course and that which is not in the budget. But what these came through as is I can't remember.
NCF
What?
one.
NCF ones. And I asked how many we do a year, and we do over 1,000. Okay, so I don't want
more
any.
than 1,000.
More than 1,000. So don't anybody get excited that something happened that's totally outside the ordinary course. Every department, I bet if I looked at anybody's department, go back to your history, you've done an NCF one. It happens all the time. So we've got to make sure that we all understand, we're looking for the out of the ordinary. Those need to come to court. Who's responsible? HR department. And Dale will double check it and he'll put it on the agenda. And I think we're going to be protected and cured. But there are situations that come up, and particularly during COVID, particularly when there's vacancies in the office, when there's temporaries in the office or some sort of extra work. What does it mean to have supplemental pay? By definition, it means supplemental work. You cannot pay supplemental pay for past work. You can only pay supplemental pay for future work. And what does that mean? It means you're doing something that's outside your normal job description. Not that you're extra good at it, not that you worked extra hard, something completely different that you did not get hired for. That's why supplemental pay exists at all. And it's just really important. And since this issue's come up, I've really not enjoyed it, but enjoyed the opportunity to research it and to really drill down on it, and spoken to the county attorney lots of times, because I think going forward, what we really seek is a policy that works, so that it's not overburdensome for the auditor or for HR, just something that makes sense, so that, I think Commissioner Vaughn said it, so it looks right, it makes sense, so it just makes sense. You just want a policy, and you know which ones need to come and which ones you don't. Does that help?
And Judge, I wanted to just bring up something a little bit, kind of tied into this, I mean, but just kind of best practice, when we're, this obviously dealt with personnel, I very much think that HR should be a part of this discussion, if not physically here, at least on a Zoom call, or someone from that department to represent it.
Good point.
Everyone is very thoroughly versed in it. I mean, between you and the county attorney and the auditor, but I don't know if you, and I know you got a million things to juggle, or if you designate it to Tyner or whoever, on behalf of the court, that these elected officials and or department heads look at, the agenda and say, hey, that's an item I really need to be a part of, whether they need to get an individual interview from you, or invite from you, or from Tyner to be here, or that they, just like I said, good practice to have, because I think that this was an item that we got most of it worked out. I mean, between Commissioner Gonzalez and Chesney and then our auditor and county attorney. But it would have been good also to have our HR director here participating. So even just as a resource, even if she doesn't have to say anything because everyone already knows enough of the issue. But I think that just kind of will help us on this, because I had a lot of the questions that were brought up, but knowing that this was already part of the policy, like our county attorney said, when we deal with the budget. But as that reminder. And also, maybe, we all know that this is, part, like Dale's going to, I guess, take the lead on notifying all the different department heads and elected officials that that this is part of the policy, and just as a reminder. But, once again, we could have HR or a few others that are kind of standing positions that usually are part of our meetings. I think really need to have that here to help us answer all of our questions, or also just to be more of a participant and more accountable for a lot of the stuff that's coming up before us, because, I mean, that's what we deal with so many times, with personnel issues, one way or another, right, with the budget, with the supplemental pay or other issues like that. So I know Julie's busy. She's handling things on her own, a lot of times individually, but if not her, then maybe her designee that can be here participating, at least just on the Zoom.
I agree.
I got one point, Judge, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Clarification on something I guess the HR put in here, and that's about Tyner also getting some supplement on an ongoing basis. But I just want to make sure that the court understands that Tyner was brought to court.
Exactly.
And was approved by the court.
It was brought to court.
To get supplemental pay during the time that he was standing in for Steve. And I know because I made the motion in court, but that was brought to court. I just want to clarify that.
I think one of the things that they need to be, obviously, when we resend that order from the court, is that if they think that it's budgeted, that they can use that money. Well, if there's a change in the personnel employee, whether it's, salary or temp or whatever, even though it's within their budget or budgeted, it's still a change involving money that needs to be brought to court for approval.
Again, I think Dale's letter can clarify that he should add that, because I think that if it's net neutral, it's going to be looked upon with high favor by the court. But I think.
But you have to make the decision.
But you have to make the decision.
Right.
So I think that's something that you can clarify. If they think that it's not affecting the budget, they may feel like they're not subject to the rule. And so now we can clarify that. Okay. Are there any further questions for Dale? Laura? Anybody? Okay. All right. The next piece of agenda items is completely in a different direction. Scott, we should have put you simultaneous. I'm sorry to make you wait, but in a way, it helps us get away from one thing that was
Yeah,
kind
we can
of
get
on
all
the
that nasty stuff out of the
negative.
way and celebrate something
Now we can
positive.
talk about just awesome opportunities. Tell us about the Peregrine Foundation.
Okay, so y'all should have a PowerPoint presentation as a backup document that I submitted on this agenda item, along with a proposal. And so, I don't know if Tyner's gonna pull it up or not, but if you look at your backup documents, I would like to take you through this PowerPoint. It's just a few slides here to really kind of set the tone, if that's okay. And I know, as you all know, I'm very fast on my agenda items, and so this time, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take a little time to go through this one, because I've banked a lot of time with you guys. So, are you okay with that, Judge?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so, that first slide there, if you can see it, I put this together. Basically, what we're talking about, I'm talking about a partnership of Nueces County Coastal Parks and the Peregrine Fund folks to continue with our efforts with the Opalmado Falcons, that we started 5 years ago underneath a smaller grant that I got through Basin Estuaries Program and in combination with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So outside from the Peregrine Fund, Fish and Wildlife have also been a great partner for us. And so, and then if you go to your next slide, this is just some fact points to talk about, just so you guys are familiar with this, because I think this is really cutting edge stuff. And it's a once in a lifetime thing for me and for this county to be involved in. So where it says Opalmado Falcons, once diverse, it should say were. I forgot that word. We're once diverse with our southwestern grasslands. The species disappeared in early 20th century. Now the next slide is really remarkable, and until I started doing my research on this, I was not aware, but as of early as 1994, there were no breeding pairs in the population, within the population of the United States. None at all in the U.S. So I think it's pretty remarkable that we've been engaged in this effort, knowing that 1994, not too long ago, this bird was basically extinct in the U.S. Its home was our grasslands in the U.S. There's the next slide. You can see those cute little critters. They're little baby Opalmado falcons. They look like little dinosaurs. And so what they did was, through captive propagation and reintroduction, the Peregrine Fund folks, along with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they would actually go out and get adult eggs where they could find them, and they would incubate those eggs, and then they would go set those eggs up and hatch them, and they would take those baby birds, establish a hack box somewhere in an area where they were trying to reintroduce them. And so there were, as of 2005, still only 44 breeding pairs, and they fluctuated over time. And what that means is that 44 may have gone up one year, down the next year. It just depends on survivability of the chicks and the adult males and females. In Hurricane Harvey, pretty much most of your nesting activity, as far as our activity within the population of the Apple falcon, it's Matagorda Island, St. Joe's Island, or San Jose, we call it St. Joe, Mustang Island, North Padre Island, and down in the valley. And so when Hurricane Harvey hit, there was a well-established nesting platform on the island itself with several pairs. This bird, once it meets its mate, whether it's male or female, this bird does not like company of other couples. They prefer to be loners, and they need at least a 2 to 3 mile area to forage and fly around and find their prey. And so what happened in Harvey, it took out all those nesting platforms, and it also killed 60% of the adult breeders in the population. Now, that's devastating. And so so I've kind of kept up with Paul Jurgensen, who's at the Peregrine Fund Foundation over in New Mexico, and there's another partner of his that's in Montana. And so we've been kind of watching this. Well, and interestingly enough, in 2015, I want to take y'all back. I know Commissioner Gonzalez was here, but I don't know how many of you other were here. Okay. Well, Commissioner Pusley, sitting in that seat at that time where Commissioner Vaughn is, I came in here to discuss what we were going to be doing with these nesting boxes. And we've got 2 that we've established on the Clayburg property. And remember, we had just gotten the Clayburg property in January, February of 2015, and there was a lot of controversy around that. And so I was trying to take us away from that controversy. And so I came up with the idea of the Apple Model Falcon. Well, I came in here in that year and executed what's called a safe harbor agreement. What a safe harbor agreement does under U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and it's specific to that property, that safe harbor agreement says, okay, you're going to go out here and you're going to do this species reintroduction. But at any time, if you want to go back to whatever your net species count was before you executed the safe harbor agreement, you can do that. Well, in this case, it would be net zero. And that was just a way to not basically have the court locked into something if they ever decided to go a different direction. However, it would not be very popular if you decided not to keep those Apple falcon nesting boxes out there. Just be straight up with you. And so, we got that out of the way. And then on the next slide, you'll see we went out in February of 2016, and these are what the nesting boxes look like. They look like little jails. But the reason why they look that way is the diameter between the dial rods that the bird goes into is such that other predator birds can't get to them. And so gray-horned owls love to eat these things, these falcons. And so that's why you don't see them affiliated with any kind of what we call a maritime forest or any oak type habitats, because the greyhound owl likes to live in that big oak tree. And so we got out there, we put those up, and we've been monitoring them ever since. It'll be 5 years this February. Now, we've seen one banded juvenile female, and they got little bands on them like a duck would around their leg, and we've seen a couple of adults kind of hanging around. We thought with losing all the nesting platforms on Matagorda, because they imprint on this box. They see it, and they think, okay, let's place the nest. Because your next question may be, well, where do they really nest at, Scott, without these boxes? Well, they love Spanish daggers, okay? But to go out there and to plant a 9 to 10 foot Spanish dagger that'll live out there in the middle of nowhere, no water, and it survived. Not to mention, if you ever been up close and personal with a Spanish dagger, it's going to chew you apart before you ever get out there. I mean, they're vicious. So this was a way to accomplish that. Now, on the next slide, this is really cool. This is an example of a hack box and the trained monitors, or however you say that, that would be affiliated with the Peregrine Fund to come out and be a part of this project. And so what we're looking to do is help get this kicked off using some of our Go Mesa monies out there on the Clayburgh side. It is a perfect example of an authorized use underneath those grant funds. And so what they will do is they're going to come in, and you see, if you were actually able to set and count these, mine's black and white, just save color, but those are 12 juvenile Apamado falcons. These guys will come out, and they'll build that hack box, get everything set, and they'll actually, this is really neat, they'll go around and they'll collect eggs from different nesting pairs all around South Texas and on the island. They will take those eggs, and then they will fly those eggs back to Montana, and they'll incubate them out. What's really neat is that the flight time costs nobody nothing, because there's this program in the United States where these pilots have to get so many CEU flying hours, and they donate their time to fly the eggs. Just like the Adopt-A-Pet thing that you see on TV. They do the same thing. Then they fly these little chicks back here to South Texas, and they go out and they set them in this box. And then they go buy these baby dead quail that are frozen, and they go out there and they feed them twice a day until they get to what's called independence. So you've got the hack box, you've got the nesting platforms. We'll add one more. That's the most we could have. And so we're going to see a definitive establishment of one of the most endangered falcons in the United States, established in an area where they're not established at this level. You know, they're to the north and south of us. And I think, and I've been talking with my Padre Island National Seashore partners, I think there's an opportunity that they're going to benefit from this as well, because they're going to go out. You know, these guys they're going to find mates.
Well, in talking about benefit, it would also be good at this point to share with our audience that, and the court, that when you say a real benefit, I mean, tourists will come from all over the world to come see these raptors.
Yes, and it just so happens, working with Charlie Belair and, you know, that gas station project and that small little mitigation project, and who's our bond counsel? What's her name?
Blakely.
Blakely.
Fernandez.
And the money that's dedicated to that with Baker Watering and that one little observation site that's going to come to fruition out there, the stars are lining up. Everything's coming together. So I'm very excited about this. I'm going to tell you that I am going to be deeply involved in this project as much as I can. And if you go to the next slide, that's a couple of the Peregrine Fund folks there underneath one of the nesting boxes. And then there's there's 3 little chicks there. Those are chicks that are fledging out. They're just about to lose their baby feathers and then get their adult feathers. And then the last slide is the motley crew 5 years ago. Mary Kay Skarupa, you remember Mary Kay, Judge,
Yeah.
Commissioner, I know you know her. She was involved. That's Bo Hardigree with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. That's Paul with the Peregrine. That guy right there that looks taller than everybody, I must be standing on some a mound of sand or something. That's me, and everybody knows the guy to the left. So here's the thing. Paul sent me a proposal, which you also have, which really goes into a lot more detail about the basically how it's a lot more detail than the PowerPoint. I dumbed it down in the PowerPoint, but one of the things that he proposed assistance with, excuse me, I'm sorry. If you look at the items 1 through 10, we would not be supporting item 2, 7, and 10. And the reason why is housing and travel. That to me, that's an incredible stretch for any kind of Go Mesa funds. Travel is there's only one out in travel under the CFR, and it's just not even worth going there. And so what we're going to try to do is, and for the audience, and Judge, I know you're trying to help me with it, is find somebody who'd be willing to loan us an RV for the time frame that the monitors need to be here, park it in the park, and that saves on their costs with travel. I mean housing. And it's right there front and center, easy to do, cost us really nothing. And then on number 7, they've got to have some place to store the quail the baby quail. And so I've got freezers out there that I used to store old bait in for the pier that I'm not using anymore, so that takes care of itself. And then just eliminate the travel. And I've already put the Peregrine Fund folks on notice that, those are items I just cannot do. But as far as the construction, the monitoring, the data collection and all that, it falls right in line with what would be authorized under GOMESA.
And you'll check your email later, or I think, I don't know if I emailed or texted you, but we do have a lead on the RV. So I'm gonna visit with Commissioner Chesney, and he's gonna help me secure this. We're gonna take it from a lead to a done deal.
To a sell?
Judge-
Okay,
A
Judge.
good sell.
Judge, just so you'll know, the Claybrook property is not a park. So basically, our duties with regards to the park, to the Claybrook property are limited. And they can build the boxes, but we still haven't found authority with regards to the other. So we're working on it, Judge, and obviously I would like for the court not to take action, but we'll bring it back. And
Okay.
we're gonna look
Okay,
at that very
I have,
carefully.
just so you know, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of there being an issue. But I do want you to know that, that's something that we should just set up a little meeting, because we can go back to the granting authority, which is, the general land office, and we can probably get,
But it's not the granting, it's our duty. The authority of our duty to monitor the birds, the wildlife. That's a park issue, and this property is not a park.
We never
So-
designated this as park land,
Right.
Judge.
But we can build the boxes. We definitely can build the boxes.
yeah, I would be very hard pressed to think that U.S. Fish and Wildlife would not help us in every way possible to make sure. Listen, the property is under our stewardship, and we just need
But
to
it's not a
find.
park.
Okay, don't
But
call it a
we'll
park.
look- No, but under the park, there's certain duties that can be done.
Right.
This is a recreational area. This is not considered a park. So
That
there's different
3,600
duties.
acres is definitely not
It's diff-
recreational.
It's different rules. We're gonna look,
Yeah.
Judge, we're gonna try to make this
Okay.
project work, but we just know that there's an issue and we're looking at it.
And Judge,
Right.
one of the things we have talked about in the past, and we might want to put on the legislative agenda, we can talk about it later, is whether we wanted to take this to Austin and get it designated as parkland. But, so it would probably be good, right now, as we're going into legislative session, to have that debate, not today, but to have
Yeah, the
that,
pros
not
and
debate,
cons.
that discussion of what are the pros and cons of this being, because right now, technically, the Clayburgh property is completely run by the court, whereas the other coastal properties are run by the Coastal Parks Board. So Scott doesn't technically oversee this property, but because we've been hand in glove and we've just kind of let that go, and there's nothing wrong with that, because
Well,
he
we
does
do
such
have
a great job.
Yeah,
But
and we do
may
have a
wanna
committee.
Yeah, right.
We
may-
do have a committee.
Right, so we may want to have a pro-con on that.
Yeah.
But I think too, I would think we should be able to maybe approve this contingent upon.
Sir, however you want to
Yeah,
handle it, I
let's-
just wanted to
I
raise
hear
that
you.
issue that
Great.
you know.
Right,
is a
I
great
just,
project.
this is the first time I'm hearing that there was an issue, so I would make that motion that we do approve contingent upon, but I'm gonna say that as they say, be very, very careful about the signals that we send to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, to foundations. The minute they hear that there could be a potential issue or problem, they leave. You don't want to do that. You want to go the opposite way. Don't find a way not to do it. Find me a way to do it, and I know you will, but it's very important. I want to broadcast that.
It just wasn't vetted by the time they put it on the
Right.
agenda, so that's why.
But I'm still not even sure what the issue is, whether it's a park or not a park. It's land under our stewardship. What is the concern?
They're doing more than just building the box. They're monitoring the wildlife. That's not a duty under a recreational site, and that's what Claybrook is.
But it's open beaches. They can monitor any citizen can monitor
Open
anything.
Beaches is state, it's not us.
Right, but I'm saying,
But
agree.
there was some.
You're saying.
This land belonged to the state.
Uh-huh.
And they sold it to us with restrictions.
That's what I'm saying.
that's-
I promise you, we
And
can
that's
get
not-
this
that-
through.
Perhaps those restrictions can be.
Yeah,
And I think
let's
she's
do
just
this.
asking for some time to look at it, because she
Right.
hadn't had a chance to look at
Okay.
it. I'm fine with that.
I'm fine
I get
with-
that there
let's
is a
do it all.
distinction, but I think she'll find
There's a lot-
something.
There's a few restrictions.
Yeah, I think she'll
Yeah,
come up with,
but.
hopefully come up with
but
something.
let's agree that
Yeah, no, I agree.
in the world of what we're gonna fight about, let's not fight
no,
about
I'm
whether
not fighting.
someone can look at birds.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, let's give her some time
Yeah,
to look, because
agreed.
this is a great project.
But I want to be, yeah, okay.
project.
I'm still going to make the motion to approve contingent upon the county attorney finding a solution to the, whatever restriction
Second.
that could exist. And Scott, you look as bewildered as I am. Don't worry, we're gonna work on it together.
He gets excited because he's an environmentalist.
No, but I'm,
It's a good project.
right, well, it's, let the Peregrine Foundation know that there are some details to work out. And then what you'll do is you need to leave here and we'll get a quick meeting in our office and we'll work on it together.
Yeah, thank y'all. This is something. This really is something.
Yeah,
To
this
be able
is-
to do this. And so, I mean, we can lead the way here. You know, we really can.
Right.
That property, the significance of the ecological significance of that property is amazing. And, you know,
And the historical and
Yeah.
archaeological and
Yeah.
everything else. So you know what? All this does is it shows a little bit of a Achilles heel that we haven't quite, we got possession of the property and then we really haven't created the whole, I guess, structure of its management. And we need to, because it can't be in no man's land.
yeah, and thank you. I think it brings a good point to, because I mean, you guys aren't abreast of all the little details of stuff I'm doing out there. You know, just in monitoring and prevention and conservation, you know, I mean, we got David Newstead doing all his plover work on the
Right,
back bay
right.
side of it.
That's what I'm
So,
saying.
yeah.
We've
So-
been-
You
working-
just may want to run that by Laura, just to
Yeah.
make sure we don't, just let her know, because
I
all the
didn't ever
projects.
think there was an issue.
Again,
I didn't
there's a
either. And
few
it may
things
not
that
be.
I don't mind going to the mat on. If somebody wants to sue us for watching birds, I'm gonna tell you something that could actually be entertaining. That's never gonna happen. We have to make sure that when you look at authority, that you're looking for what is in the absolute best interest, right, of the stewardship of the land. This goes back to my, well, like I said, let's talk to the GLO. I bet they have a very different interpretation.
And so I brought the project activity here more or less for your approval, because the Clayburg property does fall under the purview of the
Yeah.
court and not necessarily the dollar amount under the grant.
But can we agree that the monitoring is taking place? I mean, there is no restriction for anybody sitting there and looking at, I mean, that's what monitoring is. It's just
They can do it.
looking at it.
They can do it, but we don't have to pay for it.
Well, it's,
Let's let Laura do her thing.
Let's look at it. Let's look at it.
but it's permissible to let go, well, again, boy, this one caught, it's so weird. I always say this. There's every court, there's one issue that you do not expect to create any issues at all. And now I've proven my theory.
The table, Judge.
Well, no one said anything.
Or not placed in the agenda.
Well, seriously, Laura, this is the first time, and I monitored till 2:00 in the morning last night. I saw nothing come through.
Well, no, I think we made a motion to do it contingent upon Laura
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
problem with that? I mean,
Okay, all right, let's just go with it.
Yeah, we're
All
pa-
those
yeah.
in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And then just, Laura, if you'll get back with Judge and I and let us know on this, because that would be great. I mean, we'll send it to the whole court, but I
Yeah,
mean, just
we gotcha.
so that there's not more than 3 of us, right?
Okay,
Okay, I'm going to work.
go to work. All right, now the next one always stays on because we give the opportunity for Dale to update us on the, any overtime pursuant to county policy, pursuant to declared disasters, storm preparedness, response, COVID-19. Dale, do we have anything?
Your Honor, for the period that we just received, we have no overtime pursuant to COVID-19, and we just consider, do we want to continue monitoring and bring this to next court?
Thank you. I'll move on to number 6, which is Tyner likes to give us the heads up on outdoor burning in the unincorporated areas. There's an index. Tyner, how are we doing?
Well, things are dry, Judge.
Okay.
We went over 500 on the Keach Byram Index.
Okay.
So it's time to
Go ahead.
recommend approval of the outdoor burn prohibition.
Thank you for constantly being vigilant and monitoring this. I will say I'm very concerned about the lack of rain in our region. I did get a little rain shower at my home this weekend, but it was so short-lived. But this is a serious issue. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt this? Motion, and I'll take Carolyn Vons as a second, Commissioner Vons a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Okay, inmate, never mind, we did B1 and 2. You'll remember that Michael came in and we handled that. So we're going to move straight to Dale. He's got some budget change orders for your consideration. Can we talk about number 3 first?
Yes, Your Honor, the budget change order number 3, the only one that's significant is the very bottom, social mental services. And that's because of how we budget the item, that we need to make sure the money was properly accounted for in the Council of Alcohol and Drug Abuse, where it was originally appointed as a attorney fee. So we just are changing the money around. The money's available for these transfers. I submit budget change order number 3 for your approval.
Thank you, Dale. Do I have a motion? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Now we have a capital budget order, number 90.
Most of these are just moving money around to establish different processes that the court has initiated. One that I want to bring your attention to is the middle one for 1919 showing County Road 33 improvements. That's additional funding that we received from the city in the amount of $185,500. We're working with Commissioner Chesney on this because I know Juan's gone through the process of finishing County Road 33, and we've not expended the full amount, so there's some additional funds left there that I know Commissioner Chesney's working with the city to be reallocated somewhere else. But right now, for the purpose of transparency, we're recording this fully as a County Road 33 improvement of $185,500. The rest are just traditional money moving around for our tax notes at the very bottom. We're developing the courthouse and redevelopment envelope redemption, as well as some GLO matches, as well as our radio upgrade that we've been talked about recently. So this is a budget change order for our capital projects, number 9, that I submit for your approval, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Quick comment.
Yes, sir.
Want to compliment Juan and his staff. They got this done way under what the cost estimate was. And so we are trying to, we've already approached the city with 2 other potential projects in my precinct that we might look at co-oping with some of the COs that I have and some of the COs that or some of the money that they've already sent over, because I got some of mine back based on the fact that it didn't cost as much as well. So we're working on that. We should have that. We should have an answer. Hopefully, we've sent 2 different projects for them to look at. But again, Juan and his staff want to compliment them for work well done and doing it under budget. So that's very nice to hear every once in a while.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I
Move
make?
approval.
I was going
Sorry,
to say,
thank
would you
you.
mind making a motion now?
Yes, ma'am.
That is a motion, and I'll just look for the second. Got it with Gonzalez. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we have an asset forfeiture report. This comes from the DA.
Number 3 is for Chapter 59, the asset forfeiture report from the district attorney. My office just received the report from the district attorney. We put this on there just in case they gave us enough lead time to do the auditing necessary for this. However, they did not. So I'm asking to table this item for next court.
I'll ask for the motion to table to
So
comport.
move.
I've got a motion and second by Gonzalez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can we get it done by December 2nd?
Yes, it's
So-
ready. We just need to audit the balances and
Okay.
have it for you for the
Thank
court.
you. So for
Or
the
you wanna
clerk,
put it on
it's
the 20
tabled till the
or
2nd,
Or the 20th, if whatever.
or whatever works.
Whatever the next court we can have it for, it's ready to go now. It was ready to go a few minutes ago, but I didn't have time to audit the values and bring it before court, so.
Okay.
That special meeting on the 20th, if you'll want to do that, it's up to
We
you.
can do that, we can do that. I'll work with Tyler to get it on the court as
Whatever they say.
quick as we can.
On or before for the clerk, just say on or before December 2nd, tabled. The next one, Dale, is the Federal Equitable Sharing Agreement. This is with Constable 3, Constable 5, the DA, and the sheriff.
Yes, Your Honor, we're required by the federal government to submit a federal equitable sharing agreement, and we cannot participate in this agreement unless we have these reports filed. The only departments that deal with federal sharing is County Constable Precinct 3, Constable Precinct 6, the District Attorney, and the Sheriff's Office. All 4 have submitted their files to us. We've audited the files for this. We're asking for approval. Once the approval, then Judge, you will need to sign this, and once you're signed, it will be submitted to the federal government for a continuation of the agreement.
Good job. Okay. And you meant 5, not 6.
Constable 5, yes.
Yes. Okay, just for the record. 3 and 5. Motion, and I'll just need a second. Second by Commissioner Modis. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Post same sign. Okay, great. Well, everybody, we are actually complete with our regular agenda and all that was contained therein. So I'm going to ask that at this time that I'm giving notice that we elect to go into executive session, which is authorized by provisions of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. And in accordance with that government code, certain sections are applicable. 551, 071, 072, 073, 74, 75, 76, 86, and 87. And we are going to be consulting with our attorney, in this case, it's the county attorney, to include matters relating to litigation regarding real property, gifts, personnel, county advisory bodies, security devices, economic development negotiations. All these are permissible deliberations, and any other matter that may be discussed in executive session as set forth in the agenda. Upon completion of this executive session, we will come back into open session and take any action as appropriate on items discussed in executive session. The time is 11:25 a.m. For the clerk, I notice there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. I'm going to suggest that would 30 minutes sound about right, Laura? Hard to say?
No, more than that.
Maybe
Okay,
more than
I'm just
that.
going to have to.
Looks long.
I'm just going to have to text you, guys, or I'll send a message to Tyner, okay? But somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour, okay? And actually, I'm more confident than others on how quickly we're going to go. But anyway, okay, thank you so much. It's 11:25. I'm gaveling us out. Action to take, and the first one I will start with, it's item number B on the executive session agenda, and I'm making a motion to rescind our previous settlement to Shoreline Sandwich Company's property damage claim. And I am asking that the court approve a new amount. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyner. We'll start that again. I'm asking that the motion is to rescind Shoreline Sandwich Company's property damage claim settlement, and to approve the new amount that the court has identified as $23,141.76. 23,141.76. And I make the motion, and I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you for a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And then I believe we have another motion to be made regarding item number F.
Yes, Judge, I make a motion to go to mediation for the outstanding Belfour property restoration invoice.
Okay, good. And we've got a motion, a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, post same sign. That concludes the items that need action. All the other ones were either for consultation or just pure discussion. And now I would ask that we move to adjournments in memory of Commissioner Vaughn.
I do. David Mendez, founder of Divine Mercy Productions and lifelong resident of Corpus Christi and proud Moody High School graduate, class of 1986, was received by the Lord on November the 8th, 2020, at the age of 53, after an 18-month battle with cancer. David was a loving father, son, brother, and fiance. He was so talented and creative in his work, he proved to be an asset to many communities. His passion involved capturing all the special moments and persons of the area through photography and videography. As an avid boxing fan and former fighter, he became a well-known ring announcer in the South Texas area. David was a Golden Gloves member and founder of Coastal Bend Boxing Association, which aimed to promote and celebrate those who take part in the sport. He was also the co-founder of Operation Thanksgiving, which involved serving the homeless at the Mother Teresa shelter. David was a blessing to many and shall be missed by all who knew and loved him. He was preceded in death by his father, Ernesto Mendez. You know, I didn't know him. I didn't know he was into boxing like that. I knew him from pageants. I met him through the city, and my granddaughter was in pageants, and he started doing all of those. And we became really good friends, and I used him in the campaign some, and he was the nicest man. So he's really going to be missed.
I agree. He did all of the, I'm sure he did a lot for Education is Our Freedom, but he did everything for the Dr. Hector P. Garcia Memorial Foundation every year. And he also did campaign videos for me, too. So he was just excellent at his craft, and he will be missed greatly. Thank you for that. Commissioner Modis, do you have any?
No, just to also echo on David, I mean, I always knew him as a photographer, and I knew he had a passion for boxing because he was a former boxer. But if you went to any boxing matches, you would see him and he would do the MC, and then as soon as he was done jumping off the ring, he would then pick up his camera and start taking photos. So that was never far from him, even though he loved being up there as the MC as well. But just a good guy, and just funny how, you know, things happen. And, you know, I was just thinking about David the day before he had passed. So something, I guess, just made me think of him and wondering how he was doing. Knew he was battling this, but you know, you can tell what kind of life you live by how many people just kind of share their memories and thoughts of you. And David just saw it all over Facebook of the lives that he touched in so many different ways, and a man of God, which was always very important to him. So that was always just, you knew that was forefront, and especially as he went through this battle and ultimately through his ultimate healing with this as well. So he will be missed, and just think of that great smile and that camera he always had of his, and just think that maybe he's just covering a boxing match somewhere else and we just don't see him anymore.
Those are lovely words. Commissioner Gonzalez has an important one, and then Commissioner Chesney also has some. We'll wrap up with him.
First one I have a couple of them, is Anita T. Lopez, passed away on November 3rd, 2020, at the age of 94. She was a housewife, loving mother, grandmother, who had many friends. She made many friends throughout the 28 years that she worked as a school crossing guard for the city of Corpus Christi. Her greatest joy in life was watching over her family. She loved her family, was very supportive. Her condolences go to their family, but she is also the grandmother of Lorraine Lopez Villanueva, who is an employee of Nueces County Judge Benavides' office. So our prayers and condolences go out to the entire family. And the next one is on Servando Caballero, passed away on November the 10th, 2020, at the age of 77. Servando proudly served his country as a member of the United States Marine Corps from January 1966 to January 1968. His life exemplified the core values of the Marines: honor, courage, and commitment. Servando successfully served as a general manager for Kaoro Television for 21 years. He ran Kaoro for his local owners, and until they sold the station to Univision. One of Servando's proudest moments at Kaoro was when Hurricane Celia landed in Corpus Christi. Kaoro was the only television station that was still transmitting. So he was very proud of that. He was on the air during this time. So there'll be a memorial mass will be held at 9:30 on Tuesday, November 17th at Most Precious Blood. The increments to follow in the Coastal Bend State Veterans Cemetery at 11 a.m. Our condolences and prayers go out to his wife Irma, his family, and friends. And Servando was one of those special persons that like nothing bothered him. You know, he always had that smile on his face. And he was a great, great mentor. He will be missed by many, and our prayers go out to the family. I just want to say one thing real quick on David Mendez. David Mendez really hit home for me. Never mind.
I know you loved him and he loved you too. I saw that every single time. You always know when you're not the most important person in the room, and that's when you walked in because you were to him. He worked on every single project that you had, and he always cared about the kids like you do. So I understand completely. It's a great loss. I'll have great memories of him. We would make him wait forever, you know, because we would literally want everybody to have a say-so in whatever video we were producing for scholarships, and he had a great patience and a great love for what he did. And For Irma, I just want to echo what you said about what a fine man Mr. Caballero was, and my family the Canales family extend our greatest condolences as he and his wife Irma, along with others, but primarily they were the driving force behind keeping my grandmother, Dr. Cleo's legacy alive with the Spanish American Genealogical Association. And I just was so grateful that they were able to bring statewide conferences here to our community and keep the traditions and cultural significance of the Spanish Americans' historical contributions alive. So very, very special people, and we're thinking of Irma and the whole Caballero family today. Commissioner Chesney?
Judge, I would be remiss if I didn't add on to both the Caballero and the Mendez family. David was a great guy, did stuff for, it sounds like everybody else up here. The last project he worked on me was actually helping me with some project for my my son. So great loss for the community, for David, also for the Caballero family as well. Irma and her, I went to school with her daughters, and just a terrible loss. He was such a good guy, and whoever said it, he always did have a smile on his face, and just nothing really bothered the guy, and he was such a good guy. So the community has lost two really great servants in Mr. Caballero and Mr. Mendez, and so I wanted to add my condolences as well. And then my additional one is for Jimmy Campbell. Jimmy was also known as Senor Jaime. He was the owner of Senor Jaime's, and
I didn't know that.
yeah, he died from complications from a stroke, and another taken way too young. And I've known Jimmy a long time, and certainly want to pass on the condolences to his family. And I guess next time you're at Senor Jaime's, raise a glass to him and give him an extra toast. But our condolences to the Campbell family as well. So thank you, Judge.
Thank you. I think that concludes all the adjournments in memory that come from a personal nature, and we always want to acknowledge all of those that we've lost from COVID-19. I was remarking that during our we have no deaths reported today. I'm always so grateful for that. God dog it, I'm just so grateful when I get a noon call, and I usually get about a 4:30 or sometimes 5 o'clock call. And I swear it's almost like it jolts you. And we had 5 deaths yesterday, but it logged in as 6. One was a previous death we wait sometimes for death certificates to come in to confirm. And it was too many for the weekend. So I just wanted to express our condolences for all of those Nueces County families who have lost a loved one to COVID-19. And I pray every day that we will have this behind us in 2021, where I will report no deaths related to COVID-19. Thank you for a very good court. It's time to adjourn. As we say, it is in Robert's rules. Does not need a second. We are adjourned 1:11 p.m. Thank you to the clerk. I've signed everything for you and left it for you.